hello everybody out there in watching world and listening land and all that kind of good stuff. I hope you guys are having a good day, good night, good evening, good whatever. I don't know. It's all the thing, right? But yeah, tonight we are back and we're going to do a little bit more painting and hopefully something good will come out of tonight. Maybe, possibly, we shall see. But in the meantime, we're going to do a little bit of listening to some radio shows as we did yesterday. It was very entertaining for me. And I hope that you guys will enjoy it as well. So we'll start off with The Secret Book, and we'll go from there. Hopefully you guys enjoy. And yeah, chat away. We're here.
Please come closer so I can see you better. Oh, you're beautiful. Beautiful. Won't you tell me who you are? We have met before, haven't we?
Yes. We've met before.
What? You spoke.
I've waited so long for you, Martin.
Why do you call me Martin? My name's Roger.
It was Martin. Then.
Then? What do you mean?
Look at me, Martin.
Okay, we'll start a different one because that one started halfway through for some reason. Sorry, guys.
The weird circle. In this cave by the restless sea, we are met to call from out of the past stories, strange and weird. Bellkeeper, toll the bell, so that all may know we are gathered again in the weird circle.
Out of the past, phantoms of a world gone by, speak again the immortal tale, The Spectre of Tappington.
This house, Tappington Everard, called Tapton for short, is an antiquated but commodious manor house in the English countryside of Kent. It was built by our ancestor, Sir Giles Inglesby, who was High Sheriff to Queen Elizabeth. I myself am Tom Inglesby, 14th heir to this forbidding old house. Set on a grove of tall, dark trees, legends have sprung up about it that add gloom to its sinister reputation. One autumn weekend during the grass season, every guest room in the manor house was occupied. That is, every one except the oak chamber. Little did we know that the unexpected arrival of our distant cousin and good friend, Lieutenant Charles Seaforth, would cause the dark mysteries of that oak room to intrude themselves upon us in such a strange way. A telegram that morning had warned us of his arrival, that he was on leave, invalided home from India. So it was with glad surprise and open arms that I welcomed the young lieutenant to Tapton. Well, Charles, old chap, I say it was good to see you.
Hello, Tom. How are you?
Back from the land of the Rogers, what? Welcome to Tapton.
Thanks, Tom. It's good to be back in England, and best of all, to be here with you and...
And Carolyn. I know that mine are not the charms that bring you here, but those of my lively, lovely sister. Well, here's your childhood heartthrob almost falling down the stairs in her eagerness to greet you.
Charles, my dear, how wonderful to have you here.
Carolyn, you're lovelier than ever. Lovelier than I dreamed. May I kiss you?
Of course, Charles. Oh, Charles, it must have been dreadful in India.
Well, it was a bit of a show for a while.
We heard you were on the wounded list.
Oh, just a tap on the old bean, a touch of fever, but I'm fit now.
You look wonderfully well, Charles. Thinner? Perhaps just a bit older.
A broth of a boy has come back to us a man, Carolyn. And what a man.
Charles, dear, we've had to put you in the oak room.
Yes, as our housekeeper, old Bollersby, puts it, the house is chock full up. I hope you don't mind, old boy.
Why should I mind? Sounds very important, really. Is it an attic nook?
Oh, no, it's the guest chamber, or always was until some rather weird
Oh,
stories
Charles,
began
not
to...
now.
Oh, sorry.
What we mean, Charles, is simply that the oak room is very old.
Oh, but I love old rooms and old houses. Oh, what a magnificent hall. This Tapton of yours is a baronial beauty. A perfect setting for good old Queen Bess. I can almost see her ghost moving along up there on the gallery and wafting majestically down the
Don't,
stairs.
Charles, please.
What?
We don't like to think about ghosts here.
Oh? Is Tapton haunted?
Well, I'm afraid we've had our moments.
No, as soon as I've shown you off to some of my guests, Charles, Carol and I will conduct you on a special tour of the premises.
I'd like that no end.
Good. Well, come along then into the library. I think you'll remember Jack Overton and Fanny Simpkinson and many of the others. Charles was fascinated by the old manor. We showed him every nook and cranny from gallery to scullery. Then, that evening after a good and jovial dinner, some of us were gathered around the library fire when the legendary spectre of Tapton became the theme of the conversation.
Did they show you the blood stain?
Yes, it didn't look like blood to me, Fanny.
But it is blood, Charles. Human blood. And for 300 years, no sandstone or soap has budged it.
Cheerful little antique.
Did you take him into the glen, frowning darkly as of yore?
Not yet, Jack. Oh, it's gruesome. Let's go there tomorrow before breakfast.
All right.
You know, they say the keeper's daughter was seen to enter it, but nothing was ever seen again.
Oh, stop, Fanny. You're breaking my heart. My nerves can't stand it. She never was seen by mortal eyes again.
Oh, never.
How did you like the ancestral portraits? Nightmarish old codgers, eh?
Mr. Rogerton, sirrah, you speak of me ancestor.
Oh, sorry, old fellow, but you must admit Sir Giles is no rose.
I've seen his like in horror films. What's his history, Tom?
Well, dark and dismal tradition has it that his wicked licentiousness was above the average even for those days.
What was his special vice? Murder. Oh, how thrilling. Who did he kill?
Yes, tell us the story, Carolyn.
Shall I, Tom?
Go ahead. I'll turn off some of the lights. Tell the gory legend, sis. Scare 'em.
Well, you asked for it, my friends. Here it is. One night, long, long ago, a stranger guest came to Tapton. Though he and Sir Giles met in apparent friendship, the scowl on the squire's brow showed the visitor to be unwelcome. Nevertheless, the banquet was not spared. The wine circulated freely. Too freely, perhaps, for the servants heard loud and angry quarreling.
Jeez, I just had
The stranger, cold menace in his voice, was heard to say that there were documents within his pocket which could disprove Sir Giles' right to Tapton.
Documents that proved his inheritance.
Oh, don't interrupt, Jack. Go on, Carolyn. Who was the stranger? Rumor was rife. It seems the old retainers had heard talk
I
in
usually
them.
get Lois Griffin.
Well, yeah. But you're not nasal. Lois Griffin is very nasal.
Well, I can always go a little nasal.
Well, my goodness. Hello, everybody.
You know, I was literally drinking water, you bitch. Oh,
Well, hey, Ray. Hey, everybody. All the good raiders out there. How you guys doing tonight? My name is Ira. I am here with Jolene as well, although she is in silent mode right now. Thank you so much for the raid, Ray. We are doing some painting. We're listening to some horror stories and all that kind of good stuff.
Actress? If anybody knows, please tell me, because I know she looks familiar from something and I cannot remember
It
what.
ended up doing 2 shout-outs at once. Awesome. I'm so glad you're doing well, Ray. Yeah, we're doing well. I am doing a little bit of a silent, cameraless stream tonight, only because I'm feeling a little bit tired, a little bit wired, a little bit. So I thought, well, I want to stream one way or the other, so I'm going to do some painting while we're listening to some stories. Right now, we're listening to a story from The Weird Circle, which is a radio show that was during the 1950s and kind of centered around horror and creepiness and that kind of stuff. Very fun show. Some other random bits and bobs that are coming along. But hopefully you guys are doing well. I'm literally just getting started on a painting, but I have done some of late that folks may not have seen. If you guys are interested, you guys can check them out in our Discord. If you want to share the Discord link there, darling, that'd be nice. So, yeah. Oh, yeah. You guys had your anniversary here over this weekend, right? It was just a couple of days ago, wasn't it? I totally forgot about that. Well, happy anniversary to you guys, even if it is a little bit belated. But I do thank you so freaking much for bringing your guests in with you, Ray. It's always so good to have everybody here, and hopefully you guys are having a very good night. Let me get back to the story here. It's turning out to be a weird one, I guess, but it's just kind of getting a little bit of a start. Right now, this gentleman is being a guest with a man and his sister. He's just back from a war, and they are starting in on a little bit of a horror story about ghosts that are haunting the manor house that he is visiting. So hopefully you guys enjoy the stories, and and thank you so much as always for being here. I love all of you guys deeply, and I thank you for being here with us. So thank you.
What's the story, Carolyn?
Shall I, Tom?
Go ahead. I'll turn off some of the lights. Tell the gory legend, sis. Scare 'em.
Well, you asked for it, my friends. Here it is. One night, long, long ago, a stranger guest came to Tapton. Though he and Sir Giles met in apparent friendship, the scowl on the squire's brow showed the visitor to be unwelcome. Nevertheless, the banquet was not spared. The wine circulated freely. Too freely, perhaps, for the servants heard loud and angry quarrelling. The stranger, cold menace in his voice, was heard to say that there were documents within his pocket which could disprove Sir Giles' right to Tapton.
Documents that proved his inheritance?
Oh, don't interrupt, Jack. Go on, Carolyn. Who was the stranger?
Rumour was rife. It seems the old retainers had heard talk in their youth that an heir who disappeared in early life had left a son in foreign lands.
So you and Tom may not be the rightful owners of Tapton after all.
That's right. Some long-lost cousin from far-off lands may come to claim it. Joe,
Huh?
You're our distant cousin, Charles.
And from a foreign land.
Oh, no, I assure you I have no documents in my trousers. But go on with the legend. What happened?
The revellers finished their party and sought their beds. The stranger fell into drunken sleep in the oaken chamber.
In my room?
Your room.
The next morning he was found, a swollen and blackened corpse. No marks of violence, but his lips were livid, and dark-coloured spots appeared on his skin. The word poison was whispered, but no one dared say it aloud.
I see. Was it murder?
Sir Giles' personal leech pronounced it an apoplexy, and the nameless stranger was buried in haste.
It's a ghastly story, Carolyn.
Wait, I haven't told you the most curious part of the legend.
Huh?
The mysterious disappearance of the stranger's trunk.
His trunks?
His breeches, stupid. The supposed hiding place of the documents.
Oh.
His clothes were all there. Jerkin, waistcoat, cloak, but no sign of those puffed velvet short pants the Elizabethans wore. They say the evil one was in the oak room that night.
And I'm to sleep in this self-same oaken boudoir, huh? Well, how about ghosts?
Oh, some miracle mongers have it that the ghost of Sir Giles has been slipping out by the postern gate to the glen, searching and digging and wringing his hands.
Did they ever find the breeches?
Well, years ago, gardeners doing some work in the glen dug up an ancient garment with bits of gold embroidery, and out fell some papers, perfectly illegible from damp and age.
Did they really belong to the nameless stranger?
Who knows? Perhaps they did. I've just been telling you the legend of Tapton.
I must say you've given me a fine build-up for a peaceful night's sleep.
I shan't dare turn out the light in my room.
Well, spooks or no spooks, it's early up in the morning, so I'm off to Slumberland. Ghostly dreams to you all. Good night, Penny.
Good night.
Well, strange cousin from foreign lands, remember the legend. After all, you may be the real owner of the manor.
Oh, rot. I don't want your old manor, if I can have its lady.
Is this a proposal, Charles, dear?
What do you think?
I see this is my cue to exit. Good night, you lovebirds.
Good night, Tom.
And it might be a good idea to lock your door, Charles.
Thanks, I will, never fear.
I myself wasted a few moments of healthy sleep, worrying lest Carolyn's story had disturbed my guests. But as far as I knew, a peaceful night had blessed old Tappington. And then, the next morning, as I was on my way down to breakfast, I was practically knocked down by our man McGuire bumping into me. Yeah, take it easy, McGuire.
Sorry, sir. Lieutenant Seaforth's really like one beside himself, sir.
Go ahead and see what he wants. Carry on.
Certainly, sir. Sorry, sir.
I followed McGuire to the landing and stood watching as he knocked on the door.
Come in. Ah, McGuire at last.
Yes, sir.
Where are my trousers?
Your breeches, sir?
Yes, what have you done with them?
Me, sir? I never a thing, sir.
Well, it must have been the devil, then. I put them on that armchair when I got into bed, and by heaven, now they're gone.
Would it be Miss Caroline or Miss Fanny playing some sort of a joke, sir?
Oh, not probable, Maguire. Not possible, in fact, because I locked myself in. Wait. Is there any other entrance to this room?
Well, there is the secret staircase to the postern, sir. Over there.
Of course. That's the way they must have come. I'll go and see. Let's see here. No chance, Maguire. 2 heavy bolts, both fastened on the inside. I must say it's all very strange.
Funny it is indeed, sir.
Funny, Maguire? No, not too funny.
We had almost finished breakfast when Charles appeared. I noticed he wore immaculately tailored riding breeches, perfect for a day on the saddle, but scarcely the costume for our planned grass shooting. However, I made no comment, as his manner was so strange. He stood unsmiling in the doorway of the dining room, staring at the girls. Caroline seemed annoyed.
Come, Charles, the tea is absolutely cold. Your breakfast will be spoilt. Why are you so late?
Sorry?
What became of our excursion to the glen?
When I was a young man, punctuality was required of all well-bred...
When you were a young man, sir, young ladies didn't play practical jokes.
Whatever are you talking about, Charles?
Oh, don't mind me, Caroline. I've just been made a fool of, that's all.
Obviously, something was troubling Charles. Occasionally, he darted a penetrating glance at the girls. However, a glorious day in the field seemed to snap him out of this troubled mood. As a matter of fact, Charles took a leading part in planning the picnic we were to have the next day. There was no talk of ghosts nor any mention of legends. It had rained during the night and turned much colder, so you will understand the amazement it caused when Charles came down to breakfast next day in his uniform tropical shorts.
Charles! You're surely not going to ride through our lanes in such toggery as that.
You do surprise us with your costume changes.
Well, what the well-dressed man will wear. He thinks he's back in the jungle, that's all. Poor lad, he's quite balmy.
Look here, Ogleton, I'll thank you to...
Heavens above, Charles. Won't you get very wet after all the rain? You'd better drive in the carriage with me.
Thank you, Fanny. I'll ride as planned with my cousins.
During this banter, Caroline said not a word. I could see she was worried sick over Charles. However, the picnic was a great success. I wandered away from my guests because I wanted to be alone for a while and see if I could think out any reason for Charles' eccentric behavior. I was worried. Frankly worried that maybe his head wound had been more serious than he realized. I must have dozed off, for I was suddenly aware that I was an eavesdropper on my sweet sister Caroline and her adored Charles. I started to speak, but the tone of their conversation kept me silent.
Caroline, I know you mean these crazy trousers of mine.
Well, you must admit they are a bit odd. Why ever did you wear them?
I'm not wearing these wretched things because I want to be different. Caroline, my dear, something strange is going on in the oak room. Pair by pair, my trousers are being stolen.
Oh, Charles, dear, how simply fantastic. For heaven's sake, darling, you must be dreaming.
Caroline, please listen to me. I'm beside myself. I was not dreaming. The first morning, I thought Maguire had taken my trousers to press them. Then I even thought you girls or Tom were playing some childish joke on me. But night before last, and again last night, I saw the ghost.
The ghost? Oh, Charles, this is too much. There isn't any ghost. You mean the spectre?
I mean just that. I saw the spectre of Tapton, that Bluebeard ancestor of yours.
Sir Giles?
Yes, Sir Giles. Walking in my bedroom with his velvet cloak, long rapier, and his Raleigh-looking hat and feather, just like his portrait. But there was one difference.
What was that?
His legs were the legs of a skeleton.
Oh, Charles!
After taking a turn about the room, seemingly looking for something, he took up my breeches and whipped his bony legs into them. Then he strutted up to the glass and studied himself.
Why didn't you call out?
I tried to, but I couldn't somehow speak.
Oh, my poor darling, it was an awful dream.
It was no dream, Caroline. It was definitely the ghost. For then he turned and showed me the grimmest, most dreadful-looking death's head. It grinned hideously at me and then strutted out of the room suddenly.
How ghastly. Oh, I blame myself, sir, for telling you that silly legend. It's given you these nightmares.
This was no nightmare, Caroline.
But, dear, Tapton isn't haunted. You're just remembering that stupid story I told you.
You never said one word about Sir Giles' ghost in the oak room. Not one word about his skeleton legs. Not one syllable
Charles,
about it.
Darling, you're overtired. You're talking rubbish.
Caroline, I expected sympathy and understanding from you. I'm not talking rubbish. I tell you, I saw the ghost. My breeches are gone, vanished in thin air. And if the ghost didn't take them, who did?
had never thought seriously there could be a ghost at Tapton. That legend Caroline had told our guests that night had been intended as a joke more than anything else. In fact, since childhood, we have liked to spoof about our family spook. But it was evident that the story of Sir Giles had made a dreadful impression on Charles' mind. His strange costumes had merely amused us, but now even our guests were beginning to wonder. Next morning, as we were lingering at the breakfast table over that last bit of muffin and jam, Ogleton said,
I see. What makes Charles so touchy? He bolted from the room just now as if the old boy himself were after him.
I'm sorry I giggled at him, but Tom, I couldn't help it. Full dress uniform at breakfast.
See, is it shell-shock, Tom?
I wish I knew.
When I asked him why the fancy dress, he bit my head off.
I can still hear him saying, it's the regimental dress of the Royal Bombay Lancers, Fanny.
It was regal. Blue tunic, red striped trousers, and gold braid.
I haven't seen the like since the coronation.
It wasn't funny to Caroline, though. She was almost in tears when she ran after him. She looked positively stricken.
Yes, my poor sister was teary-eyed all that miserable day. As for Charles, though he seemed to be making an effort to be more companionable, it only resulted in his being distantly polite. To add to my own distress in the matter, I learned that Maguire, the valet, had been kicking up quite a bobbery below stairs, boasting that on the evening before he'd seen a ghost. Maguire had overheard some of our conversations, but this claptrap about ghosts had to be stopped. So that night after our house guests had retired, I rang for Maguire.
You rang, sir?
Yes, close the door.
Yes, sir.
Now, see here, Maguire. What's this I hear about your having seen a ghost last night?
Devil a lie will I tell your honor, but last night I saw a ghost.
Oh, what rot. Don't spread such nonsensical stories. Where do you think you saw this thing?
Well, sir, we went last night for a bit of a stroll to the glen.
We?
Myself and one of the maids, sir.
Yes. Get on.
To see the moon it was, sir. But we saw more than the moon, sir. In the shadows was a terrible ghost.
What sort of a ghost, man?
A tall gentleman he was, sir, all in white with a shovel on the shoulder of him and a big torch in his fist. Though what he wanted with that is myself can't tell, for his great eyes were like big lamps. The maid screeched holy murder and ran off with herself, and me after her.
And the ghost after you, I suppose?
No, sir. The ghost vanished in a flame of fire.
Now, Maguire, don't try gig lamps and flames of fire on me. You're making all this up. Jove, I believe you're the spectre yourself.
Me, sir? Is it myself, then, that's a play-acting ghost in your honour's thinking?
What your purpose is, I can't guess. Stealing Lieutenant Seaforth's trousers and all that.
As I have a soul, sir, I stole nothing.
No, but you're mixed up in some way with their disappearance.
'Tis the ghost, sir. I know it is. I saw him.
There isn't any ghost, Maguire. And don't go about frightening my guests with any such tale. That's all for now.
Yes, sir. Good night, sir.
I felt a strong compulsion then to go to the oak room. I wanted to know if Charles was all right. Immediately Maguire had gone, I left my room hurriedly and ran up the short flight of stairs to the oak room. I listened a moment, then rapped loudly on Seaforth's door. Charles! Charles!
Yes, who is it?
It's I, Tom.
Oh, hello. Come in. I was just about to turn in. What's up?
You all right?
Of course. Why?
Well, Caroline's told me about this ghostly visitor of yours. Look here, you haven't seen him tonight, have you?
No. Forget it, Tom. I'll make out. Don't bother about me. Go on to bed.
All right. Cheerio, old pal. Just wanted to make sure the goblins hadn't got you. Good night. And then, the very next morning as I was shaving, my door was flung open and in burst Charles.
Inglesby, this is now past a joke. Where are my trousers?
Good grief, Charles. What's the idea of yelling at me? You've made me cut my chin.
Oh, confound your stupid chin. Another pair of trousers are gone again.
Oh, heavens, this is too good. Don't tell me the ghost got the regimentals, too.
Laugh if you will. They're gone. Now, I've looked everywhere. What have you done with my clothes?
I? Charles, I'm as mystified as you are.
In all seriousness, Tom, aren't you putting over one of your famous hoaxes?
I swear to you I've no hand in this skullduggery.
Well, then your ancestor's ghost has, and I've had all I can stand. Now, you'll simply have to lend me a pair of your trousers.
Well, take all my trousers. Get out of here. You're in no mood to talk sense.
All right, as you so politely put it, I'll get out. And in your trousers. In spite of the ties that hold me here, I'm leaving Captain today.
Seaforth, wait a moment. Now I was really afraid that Charles' mind was unhinged. I dressed hurriedly and rushed downstairs. Hearing noises in the library, I went quietly to the door and listened.
Darling, please don't leave for my sake, please.
Caroline, I can't stay, I tell you. As surely as I love you, that spectral anatomy came to my room last night, grinned in my face, and again walked off with my trousers.
Obviously, Charles, it's an insane trick.
If it is a trick.
What do you mean?
I've decided it all has to do with the ownership of Tapton.
What?
Yes. As you and Tom both said, I am your cousin. I have been in foreign lands. But I'm not claiming Tapton. One of you is trying by inhuman means to frighten me to death. Poison. Yes, mental poison. But you won't get away with it. You won't.
Stop, darling, stop. How can you believe such things? Oh, Tom, I'm so glad you were listening. Talk to him, please.
Charles, old man, you're so wrong. Why, you're my oldest friend, and Carolyn loves you. You know that. Now, come on. Forget these black thoughts. Go for a walk and let the sun and the wind drive this fog from your mind.
Please, Charles, don't talk any more about leaving. Let's fight this thing out together.
I don't know what's got into me. Very well, Carolyn. I'll stay.
That's fine.
Don't worry, Carolyn, dear. I'll try to be a model guest.
See you at lunch then, darling. Oh, Tom, isn't it awful? Whatever will we do? I do love him so.
I was mad clear through and determined to scotch this ghost business once and for all. I knew that the oak room had a secret cupboard in the paneling, so that night I decided I must hide there and spy on Charles. I slipped away from my guests and, tiptoeing through the dark gloom of the oak room, I groped my way into the closet. Suddenly, my hands touched soft human flesh. Good Lord. Carolyn.
Tom, you scared me so.
Oh, we had the same idea, huh?
Yes, to protect Charles.
Well, of course. But we may have a long wait, sis.
I won't mind.
Shh, yes.
I think I hear him coming. Oh, Tom, I'm so scared.
Quiet. Chin up, old girl. Charles got himself ready for bed, started to take off his trousers, then suddenly put them on again and flung himself into bed. He had left the night lamp on, which was lucky, as thus we could see more easily. After waiting for what seemed hours, Carolyn suddenly clutched my arm.
Look, he's sitting up. Shall we speak?
No, not yet. He's turning this way. Good Lord, he's asleep.
Yes. His eyes are wide open, but they stare senselessly, like dead eyes.
He's out of bed. Huh? What did you see looking for?
He's got a torch. Why, he's looking at himself in the mirror. Tom, he's going to the secret staircase. He's opening the door.
Come along, we've got to follow him. Not too closely. Hurry, please. We hurried after him down the stairs and out to the postern gate. We saw him enter the glen, and then as we came closer, there was Charles with a spade, digging.
Whatever is he doing?
Digging a large hole. The earth is soft. He's been digging here before. Look, he's removing his trousers and burying them.
Stand it, it's too gruesome. Let's call out.
No, wait a minute. Sleepwalkers have to be shocked out of their trance. I'll wake him as he turns towards us. Well, here he's coming now. Now! Ooh. Oh.
Tom, what have you done? You've killed him.
But I hadn't killed him, though I had hit him hard, and then I realized. We called for help and carried him to the great hall. He was still unconscious when Dr. Austin arrived. We waited anxiously during his examination. Finally, the doctor came towards us.
Well, Tom, our young lieutenant is coming around nicely.
Oh, what a relief.
Oh, Doctor, is he going to be all right?
Of course, my dear.
Then it was shell shock, Doctor?
Not exactly. I think that head wound and the fever combined to give his subconscious overactive control of his mind.
And when I hit him?
Best thing you could have done. You put that subconscious in its place. I think it's safe to say that he won't sleepwalk anymore.
Oh.
Look at Charles. He's sitting up.
What? Where? What? Oh, why are you all staring? Why am I here? Oh, my jaw.
Don't try to speak, dear. You're all right now.
Well, I should say I was. Why, I feel as if a load had been lifted from my heart. Oh, I remember my trousers.
Yes, Charles, you've been busy burying trousers.
In neat layers, riding breeches, shorts, and even those beautiful regimentals.
Then I've been haunting myself.
Yes, dearest. You are the spectre of Tapton.
Oh, my love. Can you ever bring yourself to marry a spectre?
Darling, I love ghosts.
Oh, I begin to catch on. Wedding bells are in the offing.
Yes, and with my blessing. But, Charles, if ever again you feel inclined to jump out of bed and ramble out of doors, there's one thing I'd like to suggest.
What's that, old boy?
I recommend that Carolyn wear the trousers.
From the time-worn pages of the past, we have heard the immortal tale, The Spectre of Tappington. Bellkeeper, toll the bell.
From the time-worn pages of the past, we have heard another immortal tale in The Weird Circle. Bellkeeper, toll the bell. Be here in this lonely cave by the restless sea once again next time for another immortal tale in The Weird Circle.
Whether it's cool or whether it's hot, we're gonna have weather, whether or not. You're prepared for the weather, so get it under control. Be warm when it's cool, be cool when it's hot. Simply make sure that the system you've got is the year-round comfort system by Janitrol. More efficient, less expensive to own and operate. For your comfort, year-round comfort, Janitrol is really great. Quality's waiting, so don't you delay. Call on your Janitrol dealer today. You'll be cool in the summer, warm in the winter. Janitrol keeps it that way. See your Janitrol dealer today. Whether it's cool or whether it's hot, we're gonna have weather, whether or not. You're prepared for the weather, so get it under control. Be warm when it's cool, be cool when it's hot. Simply make sure that the system you've got is the year-round comfort system by Janitro. More efficient, less expensive to own and operate. For your comfort, year-round comfort, Janitrol is really great. Quality's waiting, so don't you delay. Call on your Janitrol dealer today. You'll be cool in the summer, warm in the winter. Janitrol keeps you that way. See your Janitrol dealer today.
The Sealed Book. Once again, the keeper of the book has opened the ponderous door to the secret vault, wherein is kept the great sealed book, in which is recorded all the secrets and mysteries of mankind through the ages. Here are tales of every kind, tales of murder, of madness, of dark deeds, strange and terrible beyond all belief. Keeper of the book, I would know what tale we tell this time. Open the great book and let us read. Slowly, the great book opens. One by one, the keeper of the book turns the pages and stops. Ah, the strange story of a man who would stop at nothing to accomplish his ends. A tale called The Accusing Corpse. Here is the tale, The Accusing Corpse, as it is written in the pages of the sealed book. Philip Drake, the wealthy stockbroker, is pacing nervously back and forth in the drawing room of his country mansion. His face becomes pale as Vivian, his wife, enters the drawing room, a suitcase in one hand.
Well, Philip, I'm all packed and ready to leave. I do hope
Vivian,
that
how can you do this to me? You know I love you, that I'd do anything to make you happy.
Oh, Philip, let's not go over that again.
Oh, please, darling, don't leave. At least not until your brother Roger's arrived and had a chance to talk to you. He'll be here any minute.
Oh, nothing that righteous brother of mine can say will change my mind. Now, would you mind lending me your car to get to town?
Vivian, if you leave me, you won't get a cent. Not a cent, you hear?
Really? Did you ever stop to think, Philip, that there might be another man? One with more money than you?
Another man? Oh, no, Vivian, there couldn't be.
And why not?
But we've only been married 3 months. Why, there couldn't have been anybody in that time.
Oh, but there was.
Oh, Vivian, you can't do this to me. I love you. I love you. I won't let you go.
I really must be saying goodbye now. He's waiting for me in town. I don't want to be late.
If I can't have you, no one else will. Do you hear?
Oh, really? You're being ridiculous. I must go now.
No.
Philip, what are you... A gun.
Yes, Vivian. A gun. I told you if I couldn't have you, no one else would, and I mean it.
Even with that gun, you can't keep me, do you hear? I'd sooner die than go on living with you. I'm going, and you're not going to... Oh, you shut... Oh.
Vivian. Philip, what happened? I thought I heard... Vivian. I didn't mean to do it. She was going to leave me. Vivian. Roger. Is she dead? Yes. Philip, do you know what this may mean? Life imprisonment, perhaps even the electric chair?
Yes, I know. I lost control of myself. Nothing seems to matter now.
You simply can't throw your life away like that. Even if Vivian was my sister. I don't mind telling you that I always felt you were far too good for her. She didn't deserve to be your wife.
Oh, please, Roger.
Look, if we were to get rid of the body, who could possibly know that she didn't leave here tonight as she'd planned?
No. It wouldn't work, Roger. You can't get away with murder.
That's nonsense, Philip. Now, if we were to bury her in the woods, no one would ever find her body.
Bury her in the woods? I couldn't do that.
Philip, you must let me handle this. Oh, and you better give me that gun.
All right, Roger. Here you are.
Good. Now you wait here. I'm going to get rid of the body. I think this is quite far enough. I'm afraid I'll have to bury you now, my dear Vivian.
Put me down, Roger. I'm tired of being carried like a sack of potatoes.
All right. There. Oh, and let me congratulate you on your performance as a corpse as I carried you out.
Roger, do you think he suspects anything?
Of course he doesn't. He's positive that he shot and killed you. It was very clever the way you taunted him into doing it.
You've got the gun, haven't you?
Certainly I've got it. You don't think I was going to let him discover that the bullets had been removed and blank cartridges substituted, did you?
No, not you, Roger. You always know what you're doing.
It was a lucky day when you met me. Look, now here's the key to the apartment I rented in town. You'll find my car a quarter of a mile down the road.
All right. I'll be waiting for you at the apartment.
I'll be there in a few hours. Well, now let's see. This seems like a nice place to dig.
The next morning, Roger called on Philip at his office. And finding Philip very nervous, reassured him that he had hidden poor Vivian's grave carefully. When Philip expressed his gratitude for Roger's help, Roger suggested that Philip could do him a favor in return by lending him $20,000 to swing a business deal. Philip was startled, but after a moment's hesitation, wrote out a check. As he wrote it, Roger smiled. Things were working out just as he'd planned.
Roger, did you get it?
Well, what does this look like?
Oh, darling, that's wonderful. Now we can clear out it. What? Roger, there isn't 100,000 here.
Why, no, dear. I only got 20,000 from him.
But we were after 100,000. Why didn't you get it all this morning when you saw him?
My dear Vivian, it simply isn't done that way. Blackmail is an art that calls for the use of psychology. Philip will give us many times over the money I hold in my hand. All in due time, of course.
You mean I'll have to go on hiding in this miserable apartment until you've finished your little game with him? Never being able to leave it for fear someone will recognize me?
Oh, come now. You've got the radio, books,
Well,
and...
I won't spend weeks in this apartment, I tell you. I won't. Oh, my arm.
You will do exactly as I say, Vivian. Exactly. Do you understand?
Roger, you're hurting me.
It's nothing to what I will do if you disobey me. Do I make myself clear?
Oh, yes. Yes, I'll do whatever you say.
And now to continue the story, as it is written in the sealed book. A week passed. A week in which Roger patiently bided his time, for time he knew was working on his side against Philip. Then one morning he called on Philip at his office.
Good morning, Philip. How are you?
How do you expect me to be? This past week I've been able to think of nothing but Vivian and what happened that night.
Philip, you must stop brooding over it. Whatever happened was her fault, not yours.
Yes, you're right. Perhaps what I need is a vacation.
Of course. A trip would do you a world of good. And if I could afford it, I'd go along with you.
You mean you haven't any money?
I'm afraid not, Philip. That's what I've come to see you about. I must have $40,000 at once.
40,000?
Yes. If I don't get the 40,000, it may mean prison for me. You wouldn't want to see that happen, would you?
No, of course not, Roger.
After all, Philip, I saved you from prison. In fact, I made myself an accomplice to Vivian's murder by not turning you over to the police.
Yes, I know, but...
You could hardly expect me to remain loyal to you if you weren't willing to help me, could you?
I see. Seems I haven't any choice. Very well, Roger. I'll write you out a check.
Take a look at this, Vivian. $40,000 in cash.
Oh, darling.
Wasn't this worth staying in hiding for? And there's plenty more where this came from.
What?
Oh, who could that be? You better get behind that screen.
All right, Roger.
Yes?
COD for Miss Brown. Comes to $64.
You must be mistaken. There's no Miss Brown here.
Well, this is the address she gave. It's in care of Mr. Roger Martinson. That your name?
Why, yes, but I
Those
don't know.
packages are for me, Roger. How much did you say the COD was?
$64, miss.
Oh, yeah. Here you are.
Thank you, miss. Here's your receipt. Bye.
Bye.
When did you buy those clothes?
This morning.
You mean you went out shopping in spite of what I told you?
Well, I was sick of being cooped up in this apartment day and night. I had to do something for a change.
And what of my plans? You risked everything with so much at stake.
Roger, stop looking at me like that. I tell you I couldn't stand being cooped up in this apartment any longer. And if you don't get the rest of the money at once so that we can clear out, I'll go shopping whenever I feel like it. You can't make...
You'll do exactly as I say. I won't allow anything or anyone to interfere with my plans. I've worked every step out perfectly, and there isn't going to be any slip-up.
Another week passed. A week in which Roger made no effort to see Philip. Then early one evening, he got into his car and drove out of the city to Philip's home in the country.
Oh, it's you, Roger. Come in.
Good evening, Philip. Where are the servants?
This is their night off.
You're not looking well at all, Philip. You shouldn't remain in this big house by yourself.
What difference does it make where I am? Wherever I go, the memories of that night follow. It's hard to believe that it was only 2 weeks ago tonight that I killed her.
2 weeks ago tonight? Why, so it was. By the way, Philip, do you think you might possibly lend me $60,000?
60? Well, you can't be serious.
Oh, but I am.
But I've lent you that much already.
Yes, I know, but I must have more.
No. I won't give you another cent. You've blackmailed me enough.
Blackmail is a harsh word, Philip.
What else would you call it? You're just as hard and grasping as Vivian was.
Oh, yes, but you must remember I'm alive and she isn't.
I suppose you're glad she's dead. In life, she was worth nothing to you. In death, you were able to get $60,000 for her. In death? How do I know she is dead?
Don't be foolish, Philip. You shot her yourself.
Yes, but how do I know she was dead? It was you who examined her, you who told me so, and you who buried her body all by yourself.
I just wanted to spare you, Philip.
Just exactly where did you bury Vivian? As a matter of fact, how do I know the whole affair wasn't staged for my special benefit? You're quite capable of such a scheme.
I tell you she's dead, Philip, and buried out in the woods.
And I want to see the grave. And the body you say is in it.
This is ridiculous. I won't go searching for a grave in the middle of the night.
You shouldn't have to search for it, Roger, not if you really dug one. Come along.
I won't do it. Why, this is
I said come along, Roger.
Oh, very well. But I'm not certain I'll be able to find the grave. After all, the woods is fairly large, and it's been 2 weeks since I buried her.
It's quite all right, Roger. We'll stay out there until you do find her.
The grave is someplace around here, I'm certain of it, but perhaps we ought to come back in the daytime. It might be easier to find it then.
I know, Roger. You shouldn't have any trouble finding it now, if it exists.
It does exist, I tell you. It's just that the woods are so confusing at night. Everything looks so different.
Just keep on searching, Roger.
Well, perhaps this is the spot. It looks something like it.
There's only one way to make certain, and that's to start digging. Here's a shovel. Start digging.
Oh, very well, Philip, if you insist.
Well, Roger, you've been digging for 20 minutes now, and you haven't uncovered a body. You're a great actor, but I'm afraid this time you've overplayed your role.
What do you mean?
Vivian isn't dead, and there's no use pretending she is. Everything that's happened was part of a scheme the two of you planned to extort money from me.
I tell you she's dead, Philip.
And where's the body?
I thought this was the spot, but I must be mistaken. I'm sure I didn't bury her any deeper than this, but... Philip, turn the flashlight this way.
What is it?
Look. Do you see what I've uncovered?
A hand.
Yes. This is the spot where I buried her. Just a few more shovels full. I'll have her body uncovered.
Vivian. No. No, it can't be.
But it is Vivian. Look, Philip. Here's the bullet hole under her heart. The bullet hole you made.
I don't want to see anymore. I've seen enough.
You should trust me a little more, Philip. Everything I did was for your own good. After all, you don't want to go to the electric chair, do you?
I don't care what happens anymore. I can't stand having her death on my conscience any longer. I'm going to call the police.
Don't be a fool, Philip. You know it can mean the electric chair.
I'll take my chances. Anything's better than going on living the way I have these past 2 weeks. I'm going back to the house and call the police.
Philip, come back! Philip!
And now to continue the story, as it is written in the sealed book. After Philip and Roger had dug up Vivian's body, with the bullet hole through the heart, Philip decided that the only thing left for him was to call the police and confess. So, in spite of Roger's protests, he rushed back to the house.
Operator. Operator.
Philip, wait. Don't do anything foolish.
You've cut me off. Take your hand off the phone, Roger.
All I want you to do is to listen to me for a few minutes. Then if you still want to call the police, you can. Now, please, put the receiver down, Philip. That's it.
What do you want to tell me?
Well, do you mind if I mix myself a drink first? It's been a rather difficult evening.
Very well.
What about one for you? You look as though you could stand a drink.
No, thank you.
Nonsense. Now, it'll do you good.
What is it you want to say to me, Roger?
Say to you? Oh, yes. Here's your drink.
Thank you.
Well, what shall we drink to? We'll drink to your good luck, come what may. There, I feel a good deal better.
All right, now we've had our drink. What have you got to say?
Oh, yes. What I wanted to say was, I never let anything interfere with my plans, Philip. I can't allow you to go to the police, and therefore you shan't. It would spoil my plans.
It would it? But I'd like to see you stop me.
I have, Philip. In a very little while, in fact, in just a few seconds, you'll be dead.
Dead? What do you say?
Yes, Philip. The drink I mixed you was poisoned. Aren't you finding that it's becoming difficult to breathe?
No. You couldn't have... My throat... It burns.
Yes, I know, but it'll all be over in a matter of seconds.
Now I see it all. You murdered her.
Yes, Philip. Just a week ago tonight. She died according to plan.
I'll call the police. I'll tell them that...
I'm afraid you haven't the strength left to reach the phone, Philip.
I would...
You and Vivian never had a chance, Philip. I had things worked out perfectly, down to the smallest detail. Hello, operator. Operator, please connect me with the police.
Oh, Inspector, I finished the examination of the body of Vivian Drake and her husband, Philip.
Okay, Doc. Oh, this is Roger Martinson. Mr. Martinson, this is Dr. Smith, the county coroner.
How do you do, Mr.
Hello. I'll be with you in a few minutes, Doc. Just stay here.
All right, Inspector.
Now, Mr. Martinson, you were telling me how you came to this house 2 weeks ago tonight to see your sister and found she was gone.
Yes. My brother-in-law, Philip, told me that she had gone on a vacation. I thought it strange at the time that she should have gone away without saying goodbye to me, as we were always very close. Then days passed, and I didn't hear from her.
Was it like your sister to go away and not write?
No, and that's what worried me so. The past 2 weeks, Philip kept putting me off when I inquired about Vivian's whereabouts. Tonight I couldn't stand it any longer, and I came to this house to have it out with him.
Well, what did your brother-in-law say when he saw you?
He was, quite agitated at my unexpected arrival. When I threatened to go to the police, he broke down and confessed to having murdered Vivian.
When had he murdered her?
He told me he'd done it 2 weeks ago tonight. That was the very night I'd come here to see Vivian, and he'd told me that she'd left for a vacation.
I see. Go on.
Naturally, when he told me he'd murdered her, I was aghast. He led me to the woods and showed me the grave. We returned to the house, and before I could stop him, Philip had taken poison. I then called the police.
Well, seems like a plain case of murder and suicide to me. Right, Doc?
Perhaps, but Mr. Martinson, I was very much interested in what you had to say regarding the murder of your sister. You say that your brother-in-law confessed to murdering her 2 weeks ago tonight.
Yes, that's correct.
And you never saw her alive after that night?
Oh, why, no, of course not.
What are you getting at, Doc?
Please, Inspector. Mr. Martinson, would you mind telling me where you live?
Why, at 425 West 106th Street.
Tell me, were some clothes delivered to that address? In your care 1 week ago today?
Clothes?
Yes, to be exact, a woman's sports suit, which cost $64 and arrived COD.
Why, no.
You're lying, Mr. Martinson. I have in my hand a slip of paper that not only proves that you're lying, but will send you to the electric chair.
Doc, what are you saying?
Yes, Inspector. Mr. Martinson's plan was perfect, but he slipped up badly. He forgot to search Vivian Drake's clothing before he buried her. When I examined her body just now, I found in one of her pockets this receipted bill bearing the date April 9th. That proves beyond a doubt that she was alive 1 week ago, and consequently couldn't have been murdered by her husband on April 2nd, as Mr. Martinson here claims.
I know.
Yes, Mr. Martinson. It was you who killed her. The corpse has accused you from the grave of murder and has given us proof of your guilt.
No, it can't be. I had everything planned perfectly. Perfectly, do you hear? Down to the last detail. I couldn't have failed. I couldn't.
But Roger Martinson had failed. And all because of a mere sales slip that was found in a corpse's pocket. A dated sales slip that gave the lie to his testimony and sent him to the electric chair. For murder is always without, though it takes the dead themselves to tell of it.
I love how the organ in these stories is literally dun-dun-dunning.
And now, keeper of the book, before you close the great book, show us the tale we tell next time. This one? Ah, yes, an incredible story about a young married couple who bought an old New England colonial house, a house that was cursed with the evil spirit of a dead woman. A tale called Stranger in the House. Be sure to be with us again next time, when the sound of the great gong heralds another strange and exciting tale from The Sealed Book. The Sealed Book, written by Bob Arthur and David Cogan, is produced and directed by Jock McGregor.
Now we move on to the finer things in Vault. Good evening, listeners. I hope you enjoyed part 1 of the horror of Vault 66. We'll be rejoining that shortly. May the terror continue. And now, as part of the finer things in Vault, we are going to be focusing on the Antiques Vault Show. Now, here in Vault 97, we have I guess it's an Antiques Vault. Clues in the name, I suppose. I found this a few years ago. Never really sure what to do with it, but also I did lose the password to get in, so I couldn't actually get into it 3 years ago. But now I've remembered the password. Toast. How silly. So now we've got the password, and now I've been able to get back into this vault. So I have decided that once a week I'm going to pick an item that harks back to the age of civilization and the pre-vault era, and look at some of the items and explain them to you, my listeners out there in the uncivilized wasteland, with the hope that if you listen to what I'm telling you and imagine some of these items, it might make you strive for something better. So, right, this room's quite big. There's a lot of things. Not entirely sure what some of them are. Oh, this looks familiar. I'll pick this one for the week 1. This looks like a doll, and according to its label, this is an Edison talking doll. Now, thankfully, listeners, whoever created this Antiques Vault thought long and hard and decided to put a label on all the antiques within. So everything I need to know about this Edison talking doll are right in front of me. So here are some quick facts about the Edison talking doll. It was produced by the Edison Phonographs Works. Nice. I have to say, it is a beautiful, beautiful porcelain head, listeners. I mean, the craftsmanship is exquisite. And that was made by the Bayer and Pruschard. Looks a bit foreign. German, I'm guessing. Yeah, I think they were German. So they made the porcelain heads, and a very good job they did too. I wonder if, does Germany still exist? Maybe it does, I don't know. A few other facts about the doll. 2,560 of them were sold, which is quite a lot, and they were pretty expensive back in the day. According to this label, it was $20 for a dress doll, and the example I have here is a dress doll, and again, absolutely exquisite craftsmanship. I think it's been hand stitched. I mean, I'm trying to convey the beauty of what I'm holding in my hands to you, listeners, and it's very difficult. I mean, we're just looking at absolutely minute little details. There's little flowers on the dress, it's lace, and even her face. I mean, they've got little rosy cheeks and little eyelashes all painted on there, and it's almost like the eyes are following me around the room as I move. I mean, how to do that's a great bit of skill. So it cost $20 at the time, which, adjusting for inflation, complete collapse of currency, recreation of new currency in the form of bottle caps, I would imagine that's about 2,500 bottle caps today. So pretty pricey. And in order to make it talks. So the way that works is there's a crank shaft on the doll, and that protrudes from the back. And when it is turned, a cylinder phonograph record, which is sitting inside the torso of the doll, the stylus sort of gyrates on it, and the modulated grooves make noise, and it talks, apparently. So when I turn this crankshaft handle, this doll will talk. Well, anyway, enough about all the facts, listeners. I know you're thinking, come on, Susan, what we're here for, or you want to hear this girl talk. So, listeners, for the first time, and I imagine over 200 years, we are going to hear, well, the first recorded audio toy ever made. So bear with me while I crank the shaft, and let's go with the first time we've ever heard this baby doll talk. Well, that was fucking terrifying. For God's sake, Mr. Wigglesworth, will you please bloody warn me next time I do something like that? What the hell was wrong with that toy? What child would want to have that in their home? I'm sorry, listeners. I appreciate this is a slight loss of decorum from me, but honestly, they gave that to children. I mean, what? Anyway, I'm going to have to kill that with fire later, listeners, because I think I may have just inadvertently released the souls of 1 million humble children into the vault. So, anyway, whilst I go and sort that out, why don't I leave you with a super fun and scary Halloween song before we move right on into part 2 of the horror of Vault 66. So here he is, ladies and gentlemen. It is Vaughan Monroe with the Phantom Stagecoach.
And the phantom stage goes by as the vultures circle high till it hits the bend and crashes down the shale, and his horses scream with fright as it rumbles through the night. The phantom stage that haunts the canyon trail. The night stage out of Canyon City wrecked in 65. 11 souls were on that coach and not one left alive. Old-timers used to shiver when they heard the grisly tale. That night they said old Nick himself was seen along the trail.
Was a gal the name of Sue that the trouble started through, and a box of golden nuggets, so we're told.
She had turned a gambler down, and that night was leaving town, so he planned to get the woman and the gold. And the phantom stage goes by as the vultures circle high till it hits the bend and crashes down the shale, and its horses scream with fright as it rumbles through the night. The phantom stage that haunts the canyon trail. He waited on the canyon as the light was growing dim. The first shot hazed the driver as the coach got to the rim. He lashed his maddened horses, but they hadn't far to go. They slipped and overshot the rim and disappeared below.
At dawn they searched the ground, but the wreck was never found. And when you pass the spot, you're not alone.
For at midnight on the trail, it's the lost souls tell the tale as they whisper that the devil took his own. And the phantom stage goes by as the vultures circle high till it hits the bend and crashes down the shale, and its horses scream with fright as it rumbles through the night. The phantom stage that haunts the canyon trail. The phantom stage that haunts the canyon trail.
You, finding life pretty dull? Dreaming again of exotic places? Wishing you were somewhere else? We offer you escape.
Escape, designed to free you from the four walls of today for a half hour of high adventure.
Escape with us now to the year 100,080 and a world where beauty and terror live side by side, as H.G. Wells describes it in his immortal story, The Time Machine.
I think we'll skip that one because everybody's pretty familiar with the Time Machine. Let's do something different. See what else we can come up with at random.
This is Orson Welles, speaking from London. The Black Museum. Here in the grim stone structure on the Thames, which houses Scotland Yard, is a warehouse of homicide, where everyday objects like a sugar bowl, an ashtray, a portable radio, all are touched by murder. There's a hammer. A hammer, that's a familiar object. Everybody's used one at some time. To drive a tack, or pull a nail, or loosen a window sash, or what have you. Nearly everybody has, at one time or another, taken part in a conversation like this.
Beg pardon, ma'am. Could you pass me my hammer?
Your hammer? Oh, yes, of course.
Thank you, ma'am.
You're not going to use that hammer on the tiles over my fireplace.
No, ma'am. Not on the tiles over the fireplace.
Well, today, a hammer, an ordinary hammer, but with a very strange story attached to it, can be found in the Black Museum.
From the annals of the Criminal Investigation Department of the London Police, we bring you the dramatic stories of the crimes recorded by the objects in Scotland Yard's Gallery of Death, the Black Museum.
And here we are, the Black Museum, Scotland Yard's Museum of Murder. Yes, within this room is proof that anything and everything may be part of homicide. Yes, here lies death. Death entombed in glass. Death on endless shelves. Murder on exhibition. Tabulated, indexed, guarded, filed. Here's a length of wire. Wireless antenna, sleek, shining, coppery, designed to bring pleasure to the human ear. This wire missed the ear. Instead, it was wrapped around a soft, white neck. Twisted. Twisted. Perfect garrote. Here's a cigarette lighter. It's dainty. Jeweled, monogram, stolen from its proper owner, and then flicked, lighted, applied to no cigarette. The victim had a bad heart. Who was to know this? Question: was it murder? Answer: yes. Here we are. It's the hammer. It's a claw hammer with two curved blades designed for pulling nails. It's heavy, well-balanced, perfect tool. One Saturday morning, it rested in a canvas bag. The owner rang a doorbell in Oxford.
Oh, dear.
Sorry, ma'am. Did I take you by surprise?
Well, yes. You see, I was expecting a friend of mine, and, well, to see a young man standing there when you're expecting an elderly lady...
Nothing to take amiss, ma'am. My card.
Oh, thank you. James Knight, house repairs while you wait. Oh, well, thank you, but there's nothing wrong with my house.
That's what everybody says. Only I don't mean the house itself. I mean the household. Furniture and the like. It's the little things gets people talking.
Well, I'm sure I don't need anything done.
Now, you take your doormat, ma'am, right there. Look, along the edges. The binding's going. You notice it now? A stitch in time, as the saying goes, and you'll not be needing a new mat in 6 months.
Well, I do declare. You're right.
Now, ma'am, if you'd just let me check your house, I'd be willing to bet I'd found a dozen little items. Cost you a few pence now, help me to earn my living and save you pounds later. Now, can I come in, ma'am? Thank you.
You are a smooth talker, aren't you, young man?
Oh, I need to be in my business. Now, if you'd just show me your living room...
Through the portiere, right there.
Yes, a very nice room. Blends with your personality, if I may say so. Now then, right to work. Tools down. Well, we'll just look about. I'll bet anything you want, I'll find a dozen things need fixing.
Now he's inside. He notes the room. He's well aware of the brass crucifix on the mantel shelf, the prissy draperies at the windows, the antimacassars on the mahogany-framed horsehair chairs. It's almost a museum.
Now, you take this chair, ma'am. The leg's loose. Bound to be. The glue dries out. The wood shrinks. Well, you know.
Well, I never noticed it.
You wouldn't, ma'am. Takes an expert's eye. A drop of glue today saves a new chair tomorrow. And they don't build furniture like this nowadays.
No, I dare say they don't. Oh, dear, it's my telephone.
No one to answer it?
Well, the girl who stays with me has gone to the country. Bank holiday weekend. She won't be back till Monday night.
Well, you just answer it. I'll be all right. Oh, beg pardon, ma'am.
Mm-hmm.
Could you pass me my hammer?
Your hammer? Oh, yes, of course.
Oh, thank you, ma'am.
You're not going to use that hammer on the tiles over my fireplace.
Oh, no, ma'am. Just tap them with the wooden handle. See if they're loose anywhere. Oh, you can trust me, ma'am. You just answer your telephone.
Oh, dear, yes, of course, the telephone. Hello? Why, Caroline.
Mrs. Golden, that's her name, answers the telephone. The young man in the living room, front room to Mrs. Golden, taps the tiles merrily, and then he stops. He looks around, looks at things, and quickly in a few things. He shuts the desk just as...
Oh, dear, this is a disappointment. Something's wrong with my friend's car, and she can't come for me after all, and it is such a nice day.
Oh, that is too bad. But not too inconvenient. Now I can really get some work done.
Oh? You found a lot of things to repair?
About £50 worth.
But you said only a few pence today.
That was earlier. Now it's going to cost you £50 to get me out of this house.
I don't understand.
I think you do. You know you had £50 in the mail yesterday. You told a couple of your girlfriends, and I heard about it. Now then, Grandma, hand it over.
You get out of here, or I'll call the police.
£50, here.
I will call.
Don't try anything. I'm between you and the phone now. Now pay up, Grandma, or I'll have to beat it out of you.
You wouldn't. You couldn't. No. Put the hammer away.
You heard me. I'm through asking now. Now, where's the money?
I didn't really get it. I was just boasting.
Cut it. Put down that vase.
I won't. Stay away from me. Keep away.
Put it down.
Throw it
Bank holiday in Oxford. No one due home until Monday evening. Someone tried late Sunday. Whoever it was kept trying, but only the bell sounded in the empty house. Empty? Was it filled with death? Monday morning, a man somewhat younger but not much than Mrs. Goldwyn parked his middle-class car in front of the house in Oxford. He had a worried expression on his face as he walked up the few steps and pressed the doorbell. Again he tried. No answer. Ran down the steps, around to the back, knocked on the back door. Nothing. Nothing but the sound of his own fists beating the thin panels. Now he is upset. He peers in at the kitchen window. Finally, he wraps his hand in his muffler, as he's seen them do in the movies, and punches a hole in the window. He reaches in, unlocks the window, lifts the sash, and climbs in. He walks through the house toward the front. Silence, save for his own strangely empty footsteps. At the portieres in the arch which lead to the living room, he stops.
Good heavens. What's this? It's blood. Operator, please, hurry. Put me through to Scotland Yard. There's been my sister's been murdered.
Well, that's how it comes, you know. First the bitter shock, the cry on the telephone, the hurried, incoherent report, and then the cars racing through the streets, pulling up, the men piling out, invading a once peaceful home.
Mrs. Golden was your sister, Mr. Bevan.
That's right. I can't understand it, Inspector. I just can't.
I know how you must feel, and you want to help us all you can.
Of course, of course.
Well, then, time is very often the essence. I'll have to ask you a few questions right away.
I'll try to answer them.
You told us you broke the back window yourself, right?
Yes, that's right. When she didn't answer the phone Sunday evening, I began to worry. I drove here this morning. The doors were locked and no one answered the bell. I broke in. I suppose I should have called a constable, but I didn't...
I understand. Tell me, Mr. Bevan, did your sister have any enemies?
Of course not.
Oh, pardon me, Inspector. We found this under the crucifix on the mantel. It's £50.
Thank you, Sergeant. Apparently robbery was the motive. Mr. Bevan, do you happen to know where your sister would get £50?
She had a small income. Perhaps the money was a dividend.
Preliminary medical report, Inspector.
Go ahead, Doctor.
Well, death occurred about 48 hours ago. Make it Saturday in the morning. We'll tell more after the autopsy.
Saturday. 2 days start on us. Go on, Doctor.
She was struck on the head by a blunt instrument several times. A hammer or something of that sort. But the fellow was taking no chances. Her carotid artery was severed by something very sharp. That's why the blood.
Whoever it was, well, it looks very professional, the way the place was ransacked. We've nothing much here. But, shall we have a go at it, Sergeant?
Well, they had a go at it, the inspector and the sergeant. There's nothing in the woman's house. Not even a smudged fingerprint. But, as Sergeant Marshall put it...
I've seen this sort of thing before. Looks like a house-to-house canvasser to me, Inspector.
It has that familiar feel about it. Routine, Sergeant.
Routine. Door to door, up and down the street. Questions, questions, questions.
Did a canvasser call here Saturday morning, ma'am? Leave a card or anything?
Do you remember anyone ringing the bell to leave a card, sir? Wanting to do repair work?
Thank you, miss. Yes, you've been quite helpful.
5 houses up the street, 5 down the street. And strangely enough, results.
A bit too careful, Mr. Knight.
Too careful, Inspector?
And too smart for himself. He left his card at all the houses on the street, and this one in the middle, he picked up the card before he left Saturday morning. Foolish. Bound to attract attention to himself.
Knight. James Knight. It's familiar.
Joe Knowles. His favorite alias is James Knight.
Oh, I remember now, sir. 2 years in Dartmoor. Assault and battery on an elderly lady.
Right. Well, call for a car, Sergeant. We may as well check the address on this card.
Mr. Knight? Oh, yes. Used to live here.
I see. Used to live here.
Well, been packed up and gone these 2 months now. Quiet sort of fella. though I didn't cotton to him much.
Thank you, Mum. Thank you very much.
Welcome, I'm sure.
Not 2 days behind, Inspector. 2 months.
We're not doing too badly, Sergeant. We know when and how he got in. We know how he committed the crime, and we've got a good idea who he is. Not too badly, Sergeant.
No, not too badly. But the inspector forgot to mention the most important clue of all, the murder weapon. That selfsame hammer, which can be seen today in the Black Museum. It looked like a long haul. 2 months behind and no trace. Not a thing to place him in Oxford on the Saturday of bank holiday. The calling cards, true, but they might have been left any time. And one confused witness would make any jury doubt the exact pinpointing of the date. Still, the man had to be found. Scotland Yard began its long, steady, methodical routine.
Circulate Knight's description from his prison record. Have prints made of his picture. Somebody will remember him somewhere. They always do.
Somebody did. The landlord of a tavern in Oxford, half a mile from the house where death had struck that Saturday morning.
I remember that fella. Certainly do.
You're sure now?
Positive. Come in here, looked like he needed a drink. Took 2 whiskies, straight. One right after the other. Was carrying a tool bag of some kind, I think.
How long did he stay?
Just till a bus stopped outside. He threw the price on the bar and hopped the bus, real quick like.
Do you happen to know where the bus was headed?
Aylesbury. No other bus stops right outside that door.
A break in the luck. Aylesbury. The town was investigated, to all practical intents and purposes. And before long, Inspector Graham and Sergeant Marshall were in the lobby of a small rundown hotel talking with a combination desk clerk and telephone operator.
Do you remember Mr. Knight, Miss Marsh?
Oh, I do that. Of course, he's not the kind I'd pay much attention to, but I remember him all right. Is he in trouble?
Why do you ask?
Oh, well, sort of. Well, you know how it is. A man leaves here sudden-like, after being in and out for a couple of months. Then a couple of fellas come looking for him. Well, you wonder, that's all.
We're from Scotland Yard, miss.
Oh, then he is in trouble.
Maybe, maybe not. We'd like a look at his room.
I'll show you. Just one flight up. Davy, watch my board, I'm busy. This way, gentlemen.
An obliging girl, Miss Marsh. Complete with pass key, she ushered the men up the worn stairway along the dim hall. She fitted the key, swung open the door.
There you are, Inspector.
Thank you, miss.
Seems to have left a bit of baggage, Inspector.
So he has. This is Knight's, isn't it, miss?
Oh, didn't I mention it? Oh, he said he'd probably be back. So would I mind if he left his bag, even though he didn't want to keep on with the room rent? So I left it here, just in case he came back before we let the room.
Nice of you. Open it, Sergeant.
Not locked. Well, careless type of fellow.
A new hammer. Nothing much else. Look around, Sergeant. Look around.
Yes, sir. Oh, funny. This book, sir, in the bag. A dictionary.
I dare say Knight isn't a bookworm. It's odd. It's a dictionary. Look a bit further, Sergeant.
Yes, sir.
Anything familiar about this, Miss Marsh?
I was waiting for you to ask me, sir. It's mine. He borrowed it one night after he came in with the newspapers.
Oh, newspapers.
Oh, yes, sir. He was a great one for the papers, especially the Globe News. He'd been a fury if we didn't save one for him at the desk.
I see. Did he do much writing up here?
Well, now that you mention it, sir, he did. Lots of letters, always to the papers. Do you suppose he wrote those Dear Editor things?
No, I doubt that, but I have a fair idea what he did write. Anything else, Sergeant?
Not a thing, sir. Clean as a whistle. Back to the yard, sir.
Back to the yard.
Odd, the man said. Odd indeed. A hammer which may be a murder weapon side by side with a dictionary. A possible killer writing letters to the editor. Or were they letters to the editor? The inspector tackled the hammer first.
Canvass every ironmonger and hardware dealer in Oxford. Find out which carries this make of hammer. Check their sales slips for that particular Saturday. Try to jog the salesman's memories. Find out where that hammer came from.
And And then the dictionary, the newspapers and the mail.
Ever look into the Globe News, Sergeant? Sometimes, sir. I'm not much of a crossword puzzle fan myself. Yes, Sergeant. Our Joe Knowles, alias James Knight, is obviously a crossword puzzle addict. I think we're due for a literary detail at the Globe News, with samples of our friend's handwriting from his prison record. Hop to it, Sergeant, and keep your eyes open.
It turned out to be quite a problem. 10,000 entries per week in the Globe News' puzzle contest were the average number. Not a pleasant prospect. Not at all. Stolidly, the crew from the yard started to go through 10,000 puzzles, checking against the photostatic copies of James Knight's handwriting. The second morning of the job.
Inspector Graham here.
Sergeant Marshall, sir, at the newspaper.
You found something, Sergeant?
Not in the file, sir. In the Morning Mail. From Brighton. An entry in the latest contest. Address, 912 Leader Street. Name of John Kinder. But there's no mistaking the handwriting.
They'll do it every time, won't they? Joe Knowles, James Knight, now John Kinder.
Yes, sir, I noticed. Always the same initials on the aliases. J.K. this time.
Bring the puzzle and the envelope. I'll have him picked up in Brighton. 912 Leader Street, you said?
912 Leader Street, Brighton, England. The order moved swiftly now on the teletype along the wires in the banks of the Thames across the North Downs, the South Downs, the famous resort city on the English Channel.
Open up in there. Quickly now, police.
No need for all the melodrama, sir. You were looking for me?
You're James Knight, also known as Joe Knowles and John Kinder.
You ought to know, officer.
You're wanted, Knight. You'll have to come along. I have to warn you, anything you say may be taken down and used in evidence against you.
You did a good job, Selden, picking him up so quickly.
Oh, he came along with surprising quietness, sir.
The fellow probably knows we've little to build a case on.
Hello, what's this?
Well, it looks like a hole in the floor, Sergeant.
I know, sir, but there's 4 more in the floor, sir. Square holes. Now, the floor is the ceiling of the room below.
Oh? Who lives below, Selden?
The landlady. Eccentric soul. We've warned her several times. She will keep her rent money in a jar on the mantelpiece.
So that's why he watched her.
That's your theory, Sergeant?
Well, you can see every corner of that room, sir, through these holes. And they're recent. Well, the wood's still fresh and white, Inspector.
Square holes. Why?
When you dig a hole with a chisel, Selden, you not only get a square hole, you also can keep the shavings from falling in the room below.
A chisel? Where would he have ditched it?
Possibly through the window when you knocked. A chisel, Selden, is sharp enough to cut other things beside wood. A carotid artery, for instance. So you prepared a statement, Knight?
Yes, Inspector. I've been informed of the charge you may lodge against me. I'm told it entails a murder in Oxford on the Saturday of the bank holiday.
That's correct.
You'll find my movements for that day accounted for in my statement. It may be troublesome locating some of my witnesses, but I doubt if you'll have much difficulty.
You were in that street in Oxford, though?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes, indeed. Trying to make an honest living, sir.
No doubt. Strange you failed to leave a card at Mrs. Golden's.
I rang several times on my way up and down the street. No answer.
And you didn't push it under the door?
No. Cards are expensive, Inspector. I prefer to explain my business first and leave a card if there's any interest. You're, having this taken down, aren't you, Inspector?
You got all this, Sergeant?
Oh, yes, sir.
And we'll enter Knight's statement in the record also.
Yes, sir.
I, see no reason for holding me any longer. Do you, Inspector?
You'll be quite comfortable. No rent to pay, Knight. Just until we check your alibi and find your witnesses. After that, Knight, well, we'll see. All right, Sergeant. Take this man back.
The end of a trail. The suspect perfectly at ease, willing, even slightly over-willing. But they held him anyway. There were still some loose ends to tie up. One of those ends might be the key to the puzzle. One of those ends just might be the end of a hangman's noose.
We've got a report on the hammer, Inspector.
At last, eh? Where? How?
An ironmonger in Oxford sold a hammer from his stock. Here's a sample. To a fellow answering Knight's description on Bank Holiday Saturday, sir. The sales slip is dated and the salesman is prepared to identify. The slip also includes a chisel.
I see. Seems identical to the one we've had. What's this label?
The salesman says it's all on this type. High-class steel forging.
Nothing on ours, is there?
Oh, no, sir.
Let's have a look in that valise we found the hammer in at Dale's.
Yes, sir.
An empty traveling bag. Just lint. A few tiny crumbs of something. They might have been dried dough or...
Even breadcrumbs, Inspector.
Or paper, Sergeant. Would you pass me the sponge there, the one for sealing envelopes? I think there's enough water in the dish.
Gently now, Inspector. Moisten the tiny pellets of dough-like substance on the glass top of your desk. Gently now. Roll them back and forth. Loosen them. Spread them out on the desktop. Slowly. Gently. Patiently. And then...
We'd better have this photograph, Sergeant. I doubt if we can preserve them for the trial.
Yes, sir.
We've broken his alibi. Knight was in Oxford that day. He bought the hammer. High-class steel forging. He should have burnt this label, Sergeant, not merely crumbled it in this way. I do believe our careful Mr. Knight, our clever, cooperative Mr. Knight, is going to be hung, and very shortly at that.
Well, today, that hammer, complete with its proper label, can be seen in the Black Museum. Inspector Graham was right. The hammer, plus the label, did hang James Knight. His alibi was broken by the salesman in the hardware store in Oxford who sold Jim Knight that hammer on the Saturday Mrs. Golden died. Inspector Graham needn't have worried about his case, nor need you worry about the hammer in your kitchen drawer. If there is any moral to this story beyond the inevitable lesson that criminals are nearly always caught, it's this. Be careful whom you let in your house when you're alone to demonstrate a new gadget or even to fix your furniture. Your visitor might mean death. And now until we meet next time in the same place for another story about the Black Museum, I remain as always obediently yours.
Come in. Welcome. I'm E.G. Marshall. Welcome to the fear you can hear. Welcome to the sounds of suspense, to the terrifying world of your own imagination. And I hope you won't hold it against us if we scare you a little with a tale that really could happen, I suppose. But when you hear the outcome, you'll hope it never does. Consider the case of Paula Richards, age 24, who put her future in the hands of an old fortune teller and dealer in the macabre.
But one thing I must add about our arrangement.
Yes?
On the birth of the child, I will demand one favor. You must promise to grant it.
A favor? What?
I shall ask it when the child is born.
But I can't promise that when I don't know what it is.
It's a very small favor, but it is part of the bargain. And believe me, Mrs. Richards, if you do decide to bargain with me, I warn you to be ready to keep your part of it.
Our mystery drama, Mother Love, was written especially for the Mystery Theater by Bob Jurin and stars Joan Hackett. It is sponsored in part by Anheuser-Busch Incorporated, brewers of Budweiser, and by the Kellogg Company, makers of Kellogg's Special K cereal. I'll return shortly with Act One.
Some research experts say you can't taste the difference between beers. Well, if they're right, then Anheuser-Busch wastes a barrel of time Beechwood aging Budweiser. Only they don't think so. Brewing beer right does make a difference. And they're betting a bundle that you can taste the difference in Bud. When it comes to brewing Budweiser, the Anheuser-Busch choice is to go all the way because they still care about quality. Look at it this way. If the Bud people have a choice between what some experts say and what beer drinkers say, Well, you'd better believe they'll go with you beer drinkers every time. When you say Budweiser, you've said it all. Anheuser-Busch, St. Louis.
This is WOR New York, your station for Mystery Theater.
Hey, Ma, what's for dinner?
ShopRite has a beautiful buy to help you serve dinner. Fine imported porcelain china. The beautifully crafted Lovelace pattern by Crown Victoria. An elegant white-on-white platinum-banded pattern to complement any table. Now available only at ShopRite. The basic place-setting pieces, dinner plate, cup and saucer, dessert plate, and bread and butter plate, are just 39 cents. 39 cents each with every $3 purchase. A different place-setting piece is featured each week at this special price. You'll want to collect all the magnificent completer pieces and matching ovenware available every week at low prices, too. Visit ShopRite and start your set of lovely porcelain china today. It's a beautiful buy.
Hey, Ma, what's for dinner? ShopRite has the answer.
Offer not available in Westchester, Ulster, Orange, Dutchess, and Columbia counties.
A doctor's waiting room is not the most pleasant place to spend a winter morning. And for Paula and George Richards, this morning is a very fateful one.
What's taking him so long?
Easy, honey. Dr. Morton has other patients, sick patients.
Why can't Dr. Morton say yes or no? Why does he have to keep us waiting?
He wanted to see us together, in person. I understand how he feels. Sometimes a doctor's word can make or wreck a life.
This waiting is making a wreck out of me. I'm going to call Mr. Jordan. I'll tell him I won't be in today. I told him I'd be late, but I'm just no good for work today. I'm sure the doctor won't mind my using his phone.
Jordan Electric.
Oh, Mr. Jordan, I didn't expect you to answer.
Oh, Millie's out sick. What's the verdict, Paula?
I don't know yet. That's why I'm calling. I'm too upset to come in today. Is it all right?
Sure, I understand. The books can wait another day. No audit till the end of the quarter anyway.
Thank you.
What's the holdup?
The doctor's busy. We're next.
Courage up, Paula. I've got my fingers crossed for you.
Thanks, Mr. Jordan. Goodbye.
Bye, Paula. He didn't mind, did he?
No, he didn't. He said if I wanted...
Mrs. Richards, Mr. Richards.
Hello, Doc.
Oh, thank heavens.
Will you step inside, please? Come right in. Take those chairs by the desk.
Thank you.
I'm sorry you had to wait.
Doctor, I'd like...
I know, Miss Richards. You're anxious about the tests.
Oh, you have no idea.
Easy, honey.
I'll come right to the point. I think that's what you want.
Yes.
Please, Doctor.
All right. I can't sweet-talk my way through to make it easier for you. The results are negative. I'm sorry, Mrs. Richards, but from my examination, Dr. Field's examination, and the lab tests, you simply cannot ever hope to bear a child.
Oh, George.
It's certain, then? Absolutely certain?
Yes, it is.
Would artificial...
No. The trouble lies with Mrs. Richards. She's physically incapable of conceiving or bearing a child.
I was trying to prepare for this, but it sort of hits you right between the eyes.
Take me home, George, please.
I hate to leave you alone today, but I have to get to the studio.
It's all right, George.
You know that I'm not going to love you any the less, Paula.
Darling, I just wanted to give you a son.
So it's not in our cards. We have each other. That's the main reason we got married, to be together. A baby would have been extra icing on the cake.
Don't stop loving me, George, please. Please, George. Don't stop loving me.
I told you I won't, honey, and I meant it. You be okay today?
I'll be okay. I won't be singing around the apartment, but I won't be jumping out the window either.
I hate like the devil to leave you, honey, but I'm due on the air with the noon news.
I'll be all right. See you at 7.
Paula, what's the news? I've been dying for your call all morning.
Edna, would you have lunch with me today? I know our date isn't until Friday, and I know that it's snowing awful hard, but if you could just...
Of course I'll have lunch, but get me down off the ceiling. What did the doctor say?
I'll meet you at the towers, 1 o'clock?
Oh, of course. Paula, what happened? Bad news?
Yes, bad news.
Oh, I can imagine how tough it is for you, Paula.
No, you can't. I'm going to lose George.
Did he say that?
No, just the opposite, but... Oh, Edna, I know. I have a feeling.
Oh, now, Paula, honey, don't start planning your own downfall.
I'm afraid it's all planned. It's all in the cards.
In the cards?
Yes, you know, it's just an expression.
Well, honey, I don't know whether I should suggest this.
What?
Well, you're just mentioning cards. It seems sort of frivolous at a time like this, but... Well, there's a woman down in the East Village. She tells fortunes, you know, with cards and tea leaves.
What could you do for me? Tell me what I already know.
Well, this woman specializes in herbs. She calls herself Mother Love.
Mother Love?
Well, now, mind you, I'm just suggesting, but maybe, just maybe, this woman could help you.
How?
Sometimes these old crones can read things in the future. Maybe a baby is in the cards for you.
After the doctor said that
well,
there wasn't...
It's just an idea.
Well, how do you know this Mother Love?
Oh, quite by accident. About 6 months ago. Henry and, well, maybe it was Ed. Anyway, it was the current one at the time. We were bar hopping in the village when we came on this fantastic storefront. The window was painted green and purple with red curtains, and it said, Mother Love, in orange letters. Fortunes told, secret herb remedies. Seemed like a lark, so we went in. And all I remember from then on was mumbling and incense. And being told, 1, I'd never marry. 2, that I was too fickle and flighty. And 3, that my mother had had a wart on her right side.
Oh,
darned if the old crone wasn't right about that, too.
Edna, the idea that a fortune teller spell can help me have a baby is just nonsense.
Well, looking at it in the cold light of day, you're right. It's just a thought. Oh, something to say, I guess. Oh, honestly, Paul, I feel so uncomfortable. I mean, what do you say to someone in your predicament? Hello?
Edna?
Oh, hi, Paula.
Edna, look, last month you mentioned a woman in the village. She works with herbs.
Mother Love? Oh, Paula, you don't mean you've been thinking seriously about that?
Not until now, not really, but I'd like to know how to find her.
Well, I seem to remember it was on 8th Street. No, it was 9th. Yeah, 9th, near 1st. Well, that's about all I'm sure of.
9th, near 1st.
Now, Paula, I wasn't really being serious last month.
Well, it can't do any harm. Right now, I'm ready to grab at any straws.
Oh, when are you going?
Saturday.
Have you told George?
No, he'd be furious.
Do you want me to come with you?
Would you? I'd feel a lot better.
Now, Paula, let's not go too far.
What does that mean?
Well, we all laugh at fortune-telling and spells and brews, but sometimes when we want to believe, well, things happen.
I'm going to this Mother Love because I want something to happen. Maybe she can't do anything to help me have a baby, but I'm going to try. Look, it was all your idea, Edna.
I think it's at the end of this block.
What a neighborhood. Makes my skin crawl.
That's it.
I see what you mean about those red curtains and orange letters.
Looks like a Coney Island transplant that failed.
Mother Love, fortunes told, secret herb remedies. Well, Mother Love, here I come. Good heavens. I never expected anything like this.
It's not what I remember. Oh, but then I'd been bar hopping. This rug. It must be worth a fortune.
Edna, look at the paintings.
There's too much incense, though.
Ah, Mother has company. Good morning, ladies. Come in. How can Mother serve you? Your fortunes, perhaps? Maybe an ailment? Well?
I'd like to talk to you.
It will cost you. Mother's time is expensive.
Well, I'll pay.
Are both of you?
Oh, no, I'm just along for the ride.
Come then. We'll go into my studio.
Edna, I'll be here.
This way, my dear. Through the curtains. It's a little dark, but I like it that way.
Mother, is that you? Mother?
Of course, Claude.
Mother, is that you?
Don't be alarmed. He's harmless. He's my son.
What's the matter with him?
He's blind and feeble-minded.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Come, sit down at the table. What will it be? Cards, tea leaves, crystal ball?
No, I'm more interested in herbs, I think.
What is it you want?
I want to have a baby. I was told that you might be able to help.
Who told you I can do things like that?
A friend?
That one out there?
No, someone else.
Mother, is that you?
Yes, Claude. Everything's all right. I tell fortunes. I give herbs for minor complaints. I do not deal in that sort of thing.
Is there a herb that might help me?
Of course not. Not without...
A spell.
Forget it. I've said too much already.
Mother love, I want desperately to have a child. The doctor says that I can't. The problem is my fault. I'll try anything. Even if a spell is necessary.
It would be expensive.
I don't care.
There may be a way to help you have a normal baby with your own husband.
Please, that's all I want.
It will cost you $1,000.
I have that.
Plus another $5,000 when you have conceived.
5,000?
I said it would be expensive, and I guarantee nothing. With these things, we can only try.
Will you tell me one thing?
Perhaps not.
Have you ever done this or this sort of thing before?
I cannot answer that.
Quite a gamble for Paula. $6,000 and no guarantee. A long shot if there ever was one. Will she take the gamble? Is she desperate enough? We'll soon see. I'll be back shortly with Act 2.
And now another tale of the ball and chain. At Kellogg's Special K.
Presents Overweight on an overnight train.
Is the seat taken?
Please, sit down. You have exceptional legs. But why is one of them attached to a ball and chain?
This ball and chain? It's a symbol.
Funny, I would have sworn it was a ball and chain.
I mean symbolic. Because carrying around a few extra pounds can be just like lugging around this ball and chain.
I see. May I suggest something? Try a bowl of Special K skim milk, orange juice, and coffee. It's the Special K breakfast.
Will it make me lose weight?
No. You must also exercise and eat smart at every meal.
I see.
Do you know the Special K breakfast is less than 240 calories, 99% fat-free, and delicious?
No, but if you hum a few bars...
And that's another tale of the ball and chain.
Your happy ending could begin with the Kellogg's Special K breakfast.
That's Kellogg's Special K. Good night.
This is WOR New York, your Mystery Theater station.
No matter what you're saving for, that's what Suburban Savings for Suburban.
Suburban Savings offers you a regular savings account with flexibility. You can add any amount to your account whenever you wish. Withdraw whenever you want. Suburban Savings pays a 5.25% annual interest rate on regular savings paid quarterly, which earns an annual effective yield of 5.47%. Interest is compounded continuously from day of deposit to day of withdrawal, as long as $50 is maintained in the account to the end of the quarter. Come into Suburban Savings and open an account with flexibility. Our regular savings account in New Jersey at Bayonne, Edgewater, Elmwood Park, Emerson, Hackettstown, Morris Plains, Nutley, Paramus, and Sparta.
Welcome again to the studio of Mother Love in a dingy part of New York City. A strange and eerie place where strange things are said to happen. Let's see if they do, as Paula Richards considers a bargain for a baby.
I'll have to think this over. I admit that I am desperate, but I'll just have to think about it.
It's for you to decide, of course.
Mother, who's there? Who is that?
Hush, Claude. I'll be with you in a moment. I'm sorry. He's very ill.
Thank you. Anyway, I'll be in touch with you if I decide that...
You'll be in touch. Yes. Claude, what's the matter now? Mother's here. Mother is always here.
Well, I thought you'd never come out. What happened?
Let's get out of here.
She really said that?
Well, she said she doesn't guarantee anything.
Paula, now listen to me. Forget it. She's a fraud and you know it. Well, you can't throw away $6,000 on a phony fortune teller.
But if she could possibly...
Oh, what? You'll have to tell George about this.
Heavens, no. He'd think I was completely crazy.
You know, I'm sorry I ever brought this up.
Don't be, Edna. Look, I won't lose my head.
Well, now, where would you get the money anyway without telling George?
Well, I have $1,000 in a personal account. It's all that's left of my father's inheritance. I'll worry about the rest later.
Mother has company. It's you.
I have the 1,000. I want to try.
Come in. This way. I thought you'd be back. Mother Love knows.
Mother, is that you?
You have the money.
Here, in cash.
Good. I need it. For Claude. He needs medicine so badly. Poor Claude cost me so much. Are you sure you want a child?
I want a baby. Get on with whatever you have to do.
Yes, of course. Excuse me. I have to get some things. I had them already. I knew you'd be back. Now, first of all, this talisman. You must wear it around your waist. This package contains herbs. A special combination to relax you. That's the secret. To relax. Half a teaspoon in a cup of boiling water once a day. In the morning is best.
That's all?
For now. But one thing I must add about our arrangement.
Yes?
On the birth of the child, I will ask you one favor. You must promise to grant it.
A favor? But what?
I shall ask it when the child is born.
But I can't promise that when I don't know what it is.
It's a very small favor. Don't worry. But it's part of the bargain.
Very well, it's a long way off.
Yes, it is. Take the talisman and the herbs. And don't be alarmed if certain unusual things happen in the next few weeks.
Unusual things? What kind of things?
You'll understand. You'll recognize them. They will mean things are working. Have you told your husband about this?
No.
Good. Tell no one. No one. Now, the last thing I must have is your name.
Paula Richards.
Your husband?
George Richards.
Go now. And beware.
I'll be in touch with you.
Yes. 5,000. Remember when you conceive.
Mother, who's there? Who's
Lord, Mother's here now. Only Mother. See, Claude? $1,000 from the nice lady. The lady who's going to help us. You're going to get better, Claude. You won't be sick anymore. The lady is going to help us. Isn't that nice, Claude?
Paula? Got any for your thoughts?
Oh, I wasn't thinking of anything, really.
You've been like that a lot lately. Distant.
I'm surprised you noticed.
Look, honey, I know I haven't been a lily to live with either. I mean, we've let our problem be too important. We're both disappointed, but we can't change the situation. I mean, we have to adjust to it. Sorry if I've been a pill, if I've done anything to make you so...
Edgy.
That's your word. Is that how you feel?
I guess. George, let's go to the show tonight. We haven't been out in weeks.
I'd like that, Paul. I'd really like that.
I've had a lot on my mind, and you're right. I've been thinking about myself too much.
I'll see what I can get tickets for.
Look at the time. I've got to shower and run.
Hey, will you look at that?
What is it?
It's a bird. At the window. I think it's a crow.
No, crows are bigger.
A blackbird?
No, I don't know.
I thought they all went south for the winter.
It looks awfully cold.
Well, don't invite it in. They know how to take care of themselves. I'll see you tonight, honey.
Bye, George.
I'll call you at the office about the tickets for tonight.
Okay. Shoo. Go away. Shoo. Oh, well, a few crumbs. Then I've got to get to work. You look so cold. Now, here's some bread. Get out of here. Get out. What am I going to do? Oh, get off the floor, lad. Get out. Get out. Oh, Lord. What am I going to do? Get out. Shoot. Oh, good. Go away. Hello? Mrs. Jensen? Is Mr. Jensen there? This is Mrs. Richards in 3A. No, it's not about the heat. It's about a bird in my apartment. I can't get it out. Well, I thought that Mr. Jensen might... Oh, no, I've got to get to work. All right, I'll leave... he can get in with a pass key. Maybe the bird will just fly out, and I'll leave the window open a little. Yes, all right, thank you. Bye. Stop following me. Get out! What am I going to get rid of you? You wanted to see me, Mr. Jordan?
Yes. Sit down, Paula. How are you feeling?
Why?
Well, I know you've had a personal disappointment. You've been under a strain.
You don't have to say it, Mr. Jordan. I know that my work has just been rotten lately, and I'm just all on edge. And today there is a bird in my apartment.
A bird?
Tapped on the window this morning, and stupid me opened the window and gave it some crumbs.
What kind of bird?
I don't know. It's black and shiny. Not too big. I asked the superintendent to get it out. It's so unnerving.
Well, I can imagine.
I'm sorry about the work, Mr. Jordan. I know I've been letting you down.
No, well, I'm sure it's just a passing thing. Your work has always been tops, Paula. But the books are important. And with the auditors coming in next month, well, everything just has to be in order.
I know, Mr. Jordan, and I promise I'll straighten up.
Yes? Yes, she's here. It's a call for you.
Oh, it must be George about tonight. Hello?
Mrs. Richards? You know who this is.
Yes, I know.
Tell me, Mrs. Richards, has the visitor arrived yet?
The visitor?
You'll know. You'll know when the visitor arrives.
You don't mean the bird.
Good. He has arrived. It's working. Yes, it's working, Mrs. Richards. Don't neglect the tea now, whatever you do. And take care of the visitor. It is most important. I'll be in touch with you again very soon.
Oh, Paula, is it trouble? You're white as a ghost.
No trouble at all. That is, I don't know.
Well, you mentioned the bird. Is that it?
Yes. The superintendent got it out.
Oh, good. Then there's nothing to worry about. Hey, honey, I'm home. Paula?
Don't touch it, George.
What?
Just let it alone.
Oh, good grief. How did it get in?
Look, I let it in by accident. It won't leave.
I'll get it to leave.
No, George. Don't go near it, please.
Paula, we are not going to live with that in the house.
It has a broken leg. I was thinking of getting a cage for it.
You can't cage a wild bird, and I'm not going to sit around with one beady eye staring at me like that.
George, don't touch it, please. Just go along with me.
Oh, Paula, a pet is one thing, but this...
I have to take care of it.
Why a wild bird? I can't stand the way it stares at me.
It stares at me, too. Well, just get used to it.
Now, well, this gives me the willies.
I'll get dinner. You have to be back at the studio at 9, don't you?
Yeah, I'm sorry about our theater date, but with Pete's wife in the delivery room, I've got to cover the evening news.
Of course, Pete shouldn't be anywhere else when the baby is born. Do you want French fries or boiled potatoes?
Whatever's fastest. So you found a home, did you? Well, I'm not in favor of it, but it looks like you're part of the family.
Paula, come in. I haven't seen you, since your father's funeral, almost 3 years.
It was nice of you to see me, Mr. Martin.
And why wouldn't I? I'm only sorry I wasn't more attentive to you after your father passed away. Fred and I were good friends. I've missed him.
Thank you. So have I. I'm here to ask a favor.
Of course, Paula.
Mr. Martin, would you lend me $5,000, no questions asked?
5,000? Are you in some kind of trouble, Paula?
No questions?
Oh, yes, of course. You wouldn't ask me if you didn't need it badly. I will, Paula. I don't have that much on hand. Suppose I send you a check.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I don't need it immediately. Any time in the next few weeks will just be fine.
You'll have it in a few days.
I promise you I will pay you back.
Oh, I'm not worried about that.
Hello?
Mrs. Richards?
Oh, yes, it's you.
Things are ready. You'll be needing the 5,000 very soon.
I've arranged that.
Good. How is the visitor? Still there? It must be there.
It is.
Good. $5,000, Claude.
What?
The lady will give us $5,000.
Mother?
You'll be going to get better, Claude. You'll be able to see again. Your legs won't hurt.
Mother?
Mother has to leave you for a while. But don't worry, Claude. We'll be together soon with $5,000. Everything will be all right. I promise you.
Everything will be all right for Mother Love and Claude, and presumably Paula. But when we tamper with the unknown, the results can be very unexpected. I'll return shortly with Act 3.
I'm Hy Brown, producer of Radio Mystery Theater. In recent weeks, I've invited listeners to enter a weekly prize drawing and to send along comments about our program if you wished. Well, you leave me just about speechless except to say thank you for the fantastic response. Thousands upon thousands of letters, and they're still pouring in. But although we couldn't feel more gratified, there is a problem. In addition to your kind words, many of you ask questions, and the volume of mail is so great that we can't get around to sifting through it for many weeks. But now that the drawing is over, if you have a specific question, please try us again, and we'll aim for a quick reply. Address, Mystery Theater, Box 5152, Radio City Station, New York, 10019. Mystery Theater, Box 5152, Radio City Station, New York, 10019.
This is WOR New York, 710 on your dial, your Mystery Theater station.
John Wingate with a reminder. Tonight at 10 o'clock, the Wingate News Digest. And question, you planning to drive this weekend? Great. New England? Forget it. The Poconos? Watch out. Upstate? Westchester? Rockland? You're in trouble there, too. A spokesman for the Auto Club of New York will tell you it's going to be a dry weekend coming up. And he'll also let you know how he feels about the gas shortage. It's short, he says, but why, he doesn't know. Then a special. Our White House correspondent, Clifford Evans, analyzing Richard Nixon's speech at 9 o'clock tonight. Mr. Evans on with me at 10 o'clock. Later, deafness. What are the early warning signs that you, at whatever age, may be going deaf? We'll find out from a top expert on hearing. He himself has the problem and knows. Tonight, 10 o'clock, John Wingate, WOR.
Let's return now to the plight of Paula and George Richards. You'll remember that Mother Love told Claude everything would be all right. But things are not quite so right for George. In fact, things for George are getting downright impossible.
Paula, I am not going to bed another night with the bird on the dresser.
It's been there every night for 2 weeks. All it does is sleep. You've got to admit he hasn't been any trouble.
I still don't like the look in its eye. The way it hobbles with that broken leg. It's grotesque.
Turn out the light, George. You won't see it then.
Oh, boy. I never thought I'd be sharing my bedroom with a bird.
Good night, darling.
What's the matter with that thing?
I don't know. It never acted that way before.
If it keeps that up, I'm going to shoot it.
Good night, George.
Good night, Paula. Paula, what is it? Paula.
There's pain in my
stomach. Let me get the light. There.
I can't breathe.
I'll call Dr. Morton.
No. Wait. Oh, what's the matter with... What is the matter with the bird?
Devil, take the bird. I'm concerned about you.
It's going... Stop. What time is it?
It's 4:30. I'm calling Dr. Morton.
No. Not yet.
It might be appendicitis.
No. It's not that.
I'm going to kill that bird if it doesn't shut up.
Look, I'll be all right. I'll be all right. I'll see... God, I'll see Dr. Morton in the morning. George?
Yes, honey.
What time is it?
7 o'clock.
I fell asleep.
After the pain seemed to stop.
Oh, the pain. I'm so much better now.
Well, we're going to see Dr. Morton just as soon as you feel well enough to get up.
No, I'll be all right. I'll just stay home. I don't want to see Dr. Morton today.
Paula, you can't let it go. It might be something serious.
I promise I'll see him when it is necessary. I want to stay in bed today.
I'm going to call him and tell him about it after I make us some coffee.
All right. I'm going to wash.
I'll call Mr. Jordan also and tell him that you won't be in today.
He isn't going to like that.
Paula.
What?
Come in here.
What's the matter? You sound so...
I didn't do it, Paul. I know I threatened to, but I swear I didn't. I never gave the bird another thought after that painage. I never touched it.
Oh, George, it's all crumpled up.
It's dead, Paul. The bird is dead.
How long ago was this attack?
A little over a month ago, Dr. Morton.
Why didn't you see me right away?
Well, I wanted to be sure.
Well, Paula, there are some preliminary signs similar to pregnancy.
That's what I thought. I knew it would be.
Don't get your hopes up yet, Paula. I told you about the impossibility of your...
I know, but I think that...
And I said these symptoms are similar to pregnancy. They could be caused by something else. I'd like to run a few more tests.
All right, anything that you say, but this time they're going to be positive. I know, Dr. Morton, I just know. A woman knows when life has started within her. Hello?
Mrs. Richards, I thought I'd be seeing you by now.
Oh, yes, well, the doctor hasn't confirmed it yet, but
But we know, don't we?
Yes.
The second part of our bargain is due, Mrs. Richards. $5,000. And after what we've already been through, I think you know I mean what I say.
Yes, I do.
Good. I'll be expecting you, Mrs. Richards.
I promise I'll keep my end of the bargain. I told you I arranged for the money. It just hasn't come in yet. I'll check on it today.
Good. I'll be seeing you soon, then.
Yes, I promise.
I hope so, Mrs. Richards. You know what I can do.
Hello? Hello, may I speak to Mr. Morton, please? No, Mr. Morton Sr. Yeah. What? Good God, when? Well, he can't be dead. He just can't be dead. Well, listen, do you know if he sent... Oh, no, you wouldn't know that. What am I going to do? Dear God. No, I don't want to speak to anyone else.
I expected you sooner.
I'm sorry. I had to turn to another source for the money.
It doesn't matter. You're here with it now?
It's all there.
Good. We're almost even then, eh?
I hope so.
You don't sound grateful, Mrs. Richards. You wanted a child, and you are pregnant. You should be grateful. I have lost my son.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Claude is dead. But he was so ill, perhaps it's better. Part of this will pay for the funeral. The rest is for the future.
I really must go now.
Of course. Go. And good fortune. You won't need the amulet anymore. Save it as a souvenir. And I'll be seeing you when the baby is born.
Paula, George. Sit down. Well, I'm sure glad Paula's finally decided to have you check on those stomach pains, Dr. Morton.
When I examined her last week...
Last week?
I didn't tell you, George. I wanted to be sure first.
Sure what?
I'm going to have a baby.
What?
That's right, George. I wanted to see you both about the results of the tests. It's almost impossible for me to believe, but it's conclusive. Paula is pregnant.
I wanted it so much for you, George.
What? You said that Paula could never conceive or bear a child.
I did, but Paula proved us wrong. Believe me, many things happen to prove us wrong now and then.
You're happy, George?
Happy? Oh, Paula, now I know why you've been so irritable and distant. You know, I feel like I'm getting my wife back along with a baby.
Well, I want to see you every 2 weeks. We usually make it a monthly visit, but you're an unusual case.
A very wonderful case.
I wish you both much happiness.
You wanted to see me, Mr. Jordan?
Yes, Paula. How are you feeling?
I think full is the word.
When is the big day?
The end of August. It's only 3 months. I'm going to spend an uncomfortable summer.
It looks that way. I don't know any way of saying this, Paula, other than just coming right out with it. You know we were audited last month at the end of the quarter.
Yes.
The auditors found a shortage of $5,000. I'll have to have an explanation.
Yes, I suppose you will.
Now, I know there must be a reason, Paula. You've worked for me for 5 years. Never a mistake.
I'm going to tell you the truth. I just hope that you can believe it.
Why shouldn't I?
I simply couldn't get the money anywhere. I haven't told George, but we'll pay it back. Look, I promise you.
I hope so. But I'll go along with that.
Thank you, Mr. Jordan.
Right now, the baby's the important thing.
George, it's time. I know it.
I'll get Dr. Morton.
I'll get the suitcase.
Congratulations, Dad.
Everything's all right. Paula?
Paula's fine.
Boy or girl?
Only the mother can tell you that. Go on in.
Paula, honey.
George, isn't he beautiful? I've already named him George Jr. I hope you don't mind.
Mind? Oh, no. Honey, honey, honey. More champagne, Edna?
Silly question.
A toast to the godmother.
Here.
Oh, you two. You know you're going to make a grown woman cry.
To Edna and to little George.
Oh, I'm so happy for both of you. And you don't know how relieved I am.
Relieved?
Oh. Well, what I mean is,
I think that Edna means that she's relieved she doesn't have to listen to my troubles at lunch anymore. From now on, everything's roses.
I'll get it. Hello? Yes. It's for you, honey.
Hello?
Hello, Mrs. Richards. Congratulations on your new son.
Well, how did you... thank you.
It's time now for the favor. The last part of our bargain.
Yes, I suppose it is.
Good. I'll see you here in my studio tomorrow. With the baby.
Just to see him?
That's all. Just to see him.
All right.
Good. Come in.
I don't want to seem rude, but I'd like to get this over with just as quickly as possible.
Come. Let me hold him. Ah, there we are. What a fine, healthy boy. Aren't you, Claude? Such a fine, strong legs now. They don't hurt anymore, do they, Claude?
Give me back the baby.
Mother told you everything would be all right, Claude. Yes, Claude.
Oh, my God. My God, what is it?
Mother told you that you'd be away for a little while. But now we're together again. And you won't be sick anymore, Claude. You have a fine new body now. And we'll take better care of it than we did with the last one. Mother will see to that, Claude. Mother will see to it.
So, little George, or little Claude, whichever you prefer, seems to have more than his share of mothers. Perhaps Paula and Mother Love will share the raising of the child. But whatever they do, I hope that you, if you're ever tempted to deal in spells, will remember some age-old advice and follow it. Caveat emptor. Let the buyer beware. I'll be back shortly.
And now, with another story of mystery and intrigue, here is Commander Neville Putney to keep you in anxiety. What's this story about, Commander?
Well, it concerns a middle-aged business executive named Fremont Witherton, who, after spending his entire career with the same firm, returned home one evening with his dreams suddenly shattered.
Is that you, Fremont?
It's me, Erica.
Fremont, you look so peaked.
Erica, I've been fired. That new plant manager, he's been trying to cut me out, and today he succeeded.
Well, you don't need to give me that hangdog look. Just go out and get another job.
I'm through, Erica. I'm 58 years old. Nobody will hire me for half the salary I've been making. My only hope is to kill the plant manager.
Fremont, I hate rough stuff, but if you've decided, your Roscoe's upstairs in the trunk. You load it, and I'll warm up the getaway car.
Hey, young man, how about that for a story?
Well, that was a dilly, Commander, but you just can't leave us this way. How did it all come out?
Time's up for now, but tune in, Bob and Ray, on WOR 3:15 to 7, and maybe you'll find out.
This is WOR New York, your Mystery Theater station.
Good evening, everyone. This is Patricia McCann. Welcome back to the New York Times, Craig Claiborne, and to the McCann program tomorrow morning at 11:15 a.m. right here on WOR.
Ah, sweet mystery, magic, mysticism. These are the ingredients we mix well, chill, and serve nightly on Radio Mystery Theater. Come and enjoy our hospitality again when malice heads the menu and menace is our mead. Our cast included Joan Hackett, Vinette Carroll, Mason Adams, Leon Janney, Evie Juster, and Roger DeKoven. The entire production was under the direction of Hyman Brown. And now, a preview of our next tale.
Awesome Stories by Ira Robinson.
The Long Night of the Mage by Ira Robinson. The summer breeze. I can feel it around me, flowing smooth across my arms, my face, wafting my hair around in a black flood. Fresh it smells to me, and happy I am with it, for with each breath I take, I'm cleansed of what I had witnessed not long ago. Where had he come from? I knew not then, and still it remains a mystery, though I suppose it really matters not. What I am left with is a sense of dread, a sense of ominous fear, and a sense of purpose to warn you, my friends, of what can happen if you pay attention to matters of the body alone and not to the spirit. It had been winter when I first saw him, astride a fine white warhorse, and I must admit my eyes were quite taken by him. Had you asked me then, I would deny all. Was he a handsome man, you might ask? Nay, not especially thrilling to the palate. His hair was long. I remember seeing it flowing out of the cowl of his robe that he wore to stave off the cold wind that was blowing. His nose was a tad long for my taste, and his eyes were blue, a bad match to that same brown hair I could see, but there was something striking. Perhaps it was the way he sat atop his horse, seemingly careless of the wind, puffing wisps of snow around. Maybe it was the way he watched me as I approached on my own horse, two strangers meeting on a trail. Either way, I was shocked at my reaction as I was left breathless for a brief moment. Never before had that occurred to me, and never again, I must say. My horse, Shadow, seemed to sense my hesitation as he paused for a moment from his slow trot, giving me more time to take in this stranger. Only for a brief moment, but it was long enough, I think, for him to notice. Greetings. His voice, though he spoke quietly, was clear over the breeze blowing. There was almost a gravelly tone to it, as if he was older than he at first appeared. But I marked it as having not spoken for some time, It just seemed to have that quality. Another brief moment passed before I realized I had not responded, and I was unhappy with myself as I try to be as cordial as possible, even to those I don't care much for. A throwback to when I had to make my living in the taverns playing the lap harp to strangers every night. Hello, stranger, and hopefully well met. I hope your travels find you safe. He took a moment to respond. For some reason, I thought him a liar just from that one word. There was a hint of sadness behind his speech. See, playing for crowds for years tends to make you a good judge of people, and I thought I knew my way around people's emotions.
Well enough, I suppose, for one who must travel such weather.
I laughed a little at that, thinking the same myself. I still had many leagues to cross yet before reaching my own destination of Haram, just outside of Center. He smiled and then said,
My name is Silence.
Well, Ira is mine. I was thinking that it was an odd play of names. Where do you travel to, Silence?
To Tyrannon, my lord. And a long road it is that is ahead of me. Would you do me the honor of sharing a fire? A good deal of time has passed since I have had any company.
Still unsure if I should have trust in this man, I thought for a moment. It was nearing dark, and the roads, though somewhat safe in this time of year, still posed a danger for travelers at night. If nothing else, from risk of a broken leg on your horse from a stray tree root or something. So I accepted, though I was a tad distrustful. I'd learned long ago that not every man has honorable intentions in this world, though I could take quite good care of myself if need be. We chatted about little things while we made ready for camp, gathering some wood that was reasonably dry and moss-free. A small cantrip I used, one I had learned in my younger days, and a flicker of flame popped into existence at the tip of my finger, and touching the wood with it, I coaxed it into a deeper fire. Soon enough, the warmth was spreading outward, and though the wind blew cold around us, a small flagon of ale and the glow of the fire warmed my body. I soon eased back against the saddlebags from my horse that grazed nearby, a smile on my face. Nice enough, he seemed, and I thought I would get along with Silence pretty good. He did seem an honest man and maybe a possible friend. I was pleased, and perhaps that's good. Sometimes it's so hard to tell. He hadn't spoken for a little while, living up to his name, and it surprised me when his voice carried across the fire to me.
Have you ever been in love, my lord?
That was a strange question for one I had just met to ask, but I answered anyhow, thinking little harm in it. But it was long ago. I saw him nod his head, something akin to agreeing, though I think it more acknowledging the fact that I had actually answered.
Love is a nightmare.
I couldn't help but lift my head and stare at him, wondering what he held in his heart to think such a thing. The love I had turned into something I did not expect, but to call it a nightmare, I thought that was quite odd. He wasn't looking at me as he continued his thought.
I had a love once, and the same I shall never be for it.
He kept staring at the night sky for a moment before his head rolled around to face me, and I could see tears in those blue eyes. My heart reached out for him instinctively when I saw them, and I could not help but to lift my hand to his face and wipe one away. Tell me. Your soul tells me that you need to. Well, he closed his eyes, and a few more tears streamed down from him, and I could hear him audibly swallow, as if he was trying to choke them back. He heaved a sigh, and there was such sadness there I could feel it. But after a moment passed, he again opened them and looked to the sky.
Not so long ago it was, and not nearly long enough for me to have come to grips with it, Ira. But I'll tell it, and in the telling may it ease at least a little. She was beautiful, my Lady of the Sun. I called her that because of her hair. It always reminded me of a sunset at its most glorious, and I thought that I would never see a more gorgeous sight than her smile. In truth, I haven't, and she called me her lifeblood. Those were wonderful days back then, and in a different world, it seems, than this. Magnificence was all around us, not like this dark age we have fallen into.
He fell quiet again for a moment, caught up in the memories, and I let him, knowing all too well how it is to be snared up in an emotion. He continued on, and the way that he spoke was almost as if he was speaking to someone else, not me.
I was a mage then, and one who had just come into his power. A hard time, that is. Hard not only on the body, but on the mind as well, and the spirit can wear down quickly. But she was always there for me when I would come out of my room, haggard from my experiences. Always there with a smile on her face or a glint in her eye, and just from seeing her, I would feel refreshed. Almost refreshed enough to return to my experiments, but there was plenty of time for that later. Would that I could hold those days in my grasp once again. I wish I could use a bit of that old magic to allow me to capture them and store them away to bring out whenever I want. But alas, time passed as it always must, and not even Garanon in all of his power has found a way to pierce that veil yet. The day came when she asked me to teach her what I knew, and though I knew the forces might cause her troubles, when she asked me that with that smile on her face, I could not resist her. I thought there no harm in it. Her spirit was true, and the strength of will she had was incredible, stronger than my own, I must admit. So begin to teach her I did. Much time passed while she meditated upon the mysteries that surrounded us every day, such as that even the smallest, most inconsequential worm under your feet has as much honor as the greatest paladin in the land. For does he not toil in his tasks as he must, and does he not defend what he knows against all oppressors? Is that not honor?
I nodded my head in assent. I had heard such talking when holding my own form of court in all of those taverns so long ago. A mage would come in fresh from his training and start spouting off about all that he had learned. Listening to them gave me a small knowledge in the ways of magic, and I was not upset to have heard it.
In that time, we married. And in that time, I still grew in power, until the day I was called to present myself to Garanon, chief mage to King Heston himself. Was I frightened of it? Aye, that I was, and for good reason. I had not expected this call, and I worried that I had perhaps dishonored myself in some way and was being called to court about it. I could not imagine what I could have done to deserve the attention. I kissed my wife goodbye on the morning of my departure, and I left her in the care of her father, knowing that there she would be the safest from any troubles. Her spellbook was full, and she knew where the ingredients to the spells could be found, so I dallied only a short time before I knew I had to go. She told me to fear not as she kissed me on my cheek, and with that, I was on my way. A long while it took me to reach center, and a hard trip it was. Nearly every day I was troubled by brigands, and on more than a few occasions I had to run for my life. It would always take time to find the road again. I also noted the proliferation of undead creatures that walked the land. Nightly, I would wake up to chills passing over me as a spirit made its way past me to some unknown destination. I would stoke the fire higher at those moments, for even though I knew what they were, and I could see them most of the time, I still worried that some evil fate would befall me in my slumber. Finally, I arrived at the great city, and I was grateful to see the walls surrounding her. I knew I made a haggard sight. In my haste to reach the safety of the city, I had not stopped to bathe in nearly a week, and a sorry sight indeed I was. Before making an appearance at court, I spent the evening in an inn and made good the use of the warm waters they had available to clean myself up. The good night's sleep didn't hurt any either. So it was that I went to court, and I met the great mage himself, surrounded by the elite of King Heston's guards. And I soon came to find out that I was not in trouble. Indeed, the opposite was truth. He had heard of my abilities through his network of assistants and had use for me. Pleased I was at this, and pride swelled in me to know that I could be of use to someone as powerful as this mage.
He went on to describe to me how the forces of evil had been growing swiftly in the world, and I knew well of what he spoke, for I remembered it myself. A very troubling time it had been for our land then, and I had even heard that my own beloved Leannon was beginning to come under attack from trolls that we had thought we pushed far away from the city. Some time ago that had been, and I shuddered within myself as I remembered the trials and the horrors that I had seen then. But it didn't last long as silence continued his tale, and I listened, closer perhaps than before, keeping at bay some of my own memories with his own.
My home was near Dretzig, and the mage had heard that trouble was coming straight for that glorious city, and with that I began to grow nervous. I had left my wife almost straight in the path of the creatures that were making their way there. A few weeks it had taken me to make it to center, and I feared that somehow something terrible had already happened. I felt it as a dread in my spirit, and as the feeling expanded, I came to know that it had to be true. I spoke it to Grannon, and sensing my terror, he bade me wait a moment. Away I wanted to be, and swiftly, but I kept still, knowing the old mage would rush to whatever he was doing. At the end of a time of an eternity, it seemed, he returned with a small circlet of wood, and I understood it to be a rune of power, a rune of travel. I remember thinking to myself that if I had had one that had been arcanely marked for center, my travel time would have considerably been reduced. But alas, I had none myself. I had traveled little before that time, and when I hadn't yet had the ability to mark such runes.
This will take you near Dretzig, though not in the heart of the city itself. It is unclear to me whether it has already come into its time of trial. This should carry you safely to your love.
He extended his hand, and I could see the glimmer of mage light on the wood, and I grasped it in my own. Before letting it go, however, he looked into my eyes, and in his I could see something, as if he already knew what was to be. And perhaps he did. I have heard that Grannon has seen to nearly the end of our world, so I suppose anything is possible. Still, he let it go, and I set to immediately, bringing out from my pouch at my waist the ingredients needed to bind the spell together. And I began to concentrate on the words of power that would allow me to travel instantly to the spot that the rune marked. As the mage light around me increased, and I saw the world transforming around me, I glanced once again into the eyes of the great mage, and I swear I saw tears.
Silence stopped talking, and I waited for him to continue, not knowing what to say about what I'd heard so far. I think I expected the outcome of his travels, but I just wanted to hear it from him. I noticed that the wind had stopped blowing and the fire had begun to recede some. Did it seem to be noticeably darker? I thought so, as if it had become a tangible being that had come out.
Alright, so my neutral position for my pelvis, I'm squeezing my glutes, pushing my hips forward, maintaining a fairly neutral spine, right? Cool. This is what she doing. This is how she running right here. She just doesn't have the glutes to make it obvious. But this is what she doing right here. Tell me I'm wrong. I dare you. Clipping. She ain't got no ass. She gonna push out.
Hey there, Lillian. Hey, everybody. How you doing tonight? My name is Ira, and I am kind of doing a little bit of a silent stream tonight myself. I don't have my mic on permanently because I am concentrating on art, and so I'm telling stories in the meantime. Currently, we are listening to one of my own stories, but we have been listening to some like old radio show kind of things. So for those that are not aware, I am a blind guy, and I try to do painting when I can, when my body and my eyes let me. And so far, this is the little guy that has decided to come out and say hi to everybody tonight. And hopefully you guys are having a great night. Hopefully Lillian treated you guys well. I'm sure she did. She's an amazing person. And for my people that are here, if you guys have not already started following Lillian, please do. She is so well worth going and hanging out with. I love being with her. I love hanging out with her. And I highly recommend taking part in her streams as well. She's an awesome person. So thank you so much for the raid, Lillian. I appreciate it. I'm going to go ahead and get back to the silence here and get back to the painting. But hopefully you guys are enjoying the story time tonight. I have been myself. It's easier on me because like my eyes are a little buggy tonight, and my voice, if you can't tell, is a little bit buggy tonight too. So so we'll get back to the story, and much love to you guys. Thank you so much for being here. I so freaking deeply appreciate it. Begun to recede some. Did it seem to be noticeably darker? I thought so, as if it had become a tangible being that had come out to our camp and warmed itself at the fire. I glanced over at my horse and I saw her asleep on her feet. Now, she had been a good animal in the time that I had had her, and she was skittish of things approaching, and so seeing her relaxed, I was able to calm my nerves, attributing it to the duskiness of the story. Finally, Silence drew a deep breath and continued on, though his voice seemed a little different.
When I arrived, I knew I was near my home. Whether Garanon intended that, or if it was an odd coincidence, I don't know. Knowing the power and resources of the mage, I would guess intentional. I cared little at that time, but I ran the few miles to my father-in-law's house. I wish now that I had never come back. Oh, the house was there. The bulls and the cows and the pigs were there. As was my wife's father, or at least his head, staked outside the doorway to his home. I think I went numb for a while. I know I am now, or at least I pretend to be. I searched frantically, hoping to find her, and yet seeing once again her father's head outside, hoping that I wouldn't. I think I even railed against him, trying to goad him into answering my pleas. I remember coming to my senses sometime later with blood on my hands, and I knew it wasn't my own. Did I find her? Thankfully, no. Though, in truth, I think it would have been better if it had been so. Does that sound terrible? If so, Lord, I am sorry, but not knowing was harder than anything I have ever dealt with in my sad life.
I think I understood that, and I told him so. See, I too have lived without knowing, and it's been the hardest thing I myself have had to do. He smiled a bit, maybe finding a modicum of comfort in that. And of that, I guess I can say I'm glad.
Knowing little else to do, I made my way to Dretzig, not realizing what I would find when I got there would be a nightmare come to life. Aye, there they all were, the masses of undead creatures, in all their terrible, cold hideousness. Outside the gates and in, bodies crammed together to make a fleshy wall blocking entry to the city from any that would try to save her. I could hear cries, wailing so inhuman that I could not tell whether they were from some that were alive, or if it was those that had kept them trapped. My blood stood cold in my veins, and I knew, for the first time in my life, true fear.
I remembered that feeling as well, for I too had seen that mass. A more terrible sight I have yet to encounter, and I can only pray I never do, for in that moment, I nearly lost control of my sanity. Only many years of passing and many good friends since have begun to allow me to try to forget it. And unless you were there, you'll never understand.
I hid behind a tree near the gates of the city, watching the activity happening inside. I know not how long I stood there, dread fascination filling me as I took it all in. Once in a while I would see someone alive pass me. Once it was a knight, armor gleaming in the sunlight and sword in hand, followed by his comrades.
We are the righteous. We are the virtuous. And we will not back down. It is time to prepare for battle.
They swept into the wall, trying with their entire valor to break through the line that stood there. I could see pieces of bone, flesh, and the blood as well as it flew off the decayed walking corpses. And though for a few moments it looked as if they would make it through, a bright fire consuming them brought them down. I could hear the insane laughter of one of those overlords of the undead, the horrifying lich. Thankfully, I saw it not. Their corpses were swiftly torn to shreds, and I saw them no more.
I could tell Silence was soon going to be sick. The memory was that potent in him still. But the moment passed, and he composed himself once again to speak.
It was not long after that, I think, that I fell asleep. It was a fitful one, but sleep it was. The dreams that came to me I blessedly remember not. I awoke, however, to the touch of cold, and before I could come fully coherent, I was bound and gagged by hands that I can still feel on my skin. I opened my eyes to see the decayed face of a man before me, lips gone some time ago, making a ghastly grin. I was forced to my feet and then mercifully was struck a blow to the back of my head, and I knew no more until I reawakened and I saw her.
Silence sat up straight then, and I could see his eyes clearly, though the light from the fire seemed dimmer yet. They shone with a fire, almost anger, and I began to grow a little fearful in my heart of him. But then he spoke on.
Her hair, her face, all seemed the same. And her body, it was as well, but her eyes, Oh, those eyes that once gleamed with a love for me that I never thought could be matched. And a spirit as beautiful as the sun shining off the dew in the morning. Those were gone now. What took their place was an abomination to all I had ever stood for, and I thought her as well. Only to be a lie. His tears began to flow again, and I knew his pain. I could feel it exuding off of him like a sweat. I could smell it in the air, but I couldn't speak. It was as if my lips were bound, though I had so many words I wanted to say to silence. I couldn't open them to let them loose. Had a spell been cast on me? The darkness was becoming tangible enough I could touch it. What has become of you, my lady of the sun? As she smiled at me, a hard, cold, and loveless smile.
I am that no more, husband.
She nearly spat that word out.
I am so much more. I thank you for teaching me what I needed to know, though I knew it already.
I was confused at that, though it became clear enough with her next words.
I was a lost sheep for a time, though I knew it not then. I remember now my plans, and I remember what I have come to do.
I saw Silence's head begin to hang lower as he spoke those words that she said, and I knew it to be shame that he felt.
You are the one I love. I said those words to her, hoping she would realize that what I spoke was the truth. I was such a fool. I told her I would do anything for you.
This I know, as I have known it all along.
Her smile gleamed once again, and her eyes lifted up to face the doorway I had apparently been brought into. I could see something there in her eyes, something that spoke of what was really behind me. I could feel its presence now, and the evil that surrounded it was as real as your hand is to you now. I risked a glance behind me. I saw it standing there. It was translucent, human in shape and stature, and I knew it to be a lich. From the power I could feel emanating from it, I knew it to be of the highest order.
And you shall fulfill your promise to her, human. Come, man, and add to her power. Add to my power. Add to the might of Aranax.
It spoke the words, and I knew I was doomed.
I gasped at that name, and I began to understand it all. I began to know what it was that was happening to me, and I was horrified at its implications. I tried to stand, but my hands, my arms, my legs, they were all bound tight in a magic web of his story, and it was in that moment I knew true terror. I think I screamed a little, though I could still speak not. If anything, it was as quiet as the squeak of a mouse that has been caught in a hawk's jaws. That name, that horrifying name, the being that has come to try to destroy our world. How could this be?
I looked back at my wife, the one I had loved for so long and I knew to be of pure heart, and I saw in her hands the mystic energies surrounding the knife. I screamed her name as it entered my chest. I screamed at the insanity of it all. I screamed in the face of all I had ever held dear to me, my honor, my vitality, my magical powers that had done absolutely nothing to save me. Most of all, I screamed at my death, and her name was the last thing on my lips. Streth.
The bonds let loose from me then, and I swiftly stood and I backed away from this thing that I had spent the night with, this being that was both tortured and cruel. But it came at me not. It just spoke again. This time, Not so gently, this time not easy. It spat the words at me in anger and frustration and the horror of its own death.
Go now, Bard, and tell the world of my story. Go now, Bard, and sing the song of dread to those who would hear it, and let them know that she still wants this world. Garanon may have kept it safe for now, but she will come again, and may the gods have mercy on the next fool that crosses her path.
And with that, he vanished, and with him, the darkness and the cold. And it was then that I realized it was a warm spring day dawning. I ask myself now why it was me that Silence had decided to speak to. Was it that he knew me for a teller of tales, or was there another reason? If I were honest with myself, I could find correlations in his story and my own long saga. I mean, was that all? I knew the answer not then, and I know not now, though it is a few years since then that I stand here in the same spot that night that lasted months took place. No spots remain of the camp we had made that night. To the world of nature, that time is forever ago, but to me, it's as if it were just hours ago, and I can still feel the darkness binding my lips. Perhaps by writing it down and by speaking it aloud, it might be easier heard. Will anyone believe me? I don't care. I know the history books speak different of that time and that place and that cataclysm, but that's sometimes how it goes. Unless you were there, you'll never know.
The walls must crumble before we advance. The darkness finds us before we seek out the light. True strength comes from loss. The only reason I know a good like love.
For more stories from Ira Robinson, go to his official website, originalworlds.com. At that website, you'll find free stories, free chapters from his books, writing information for those up-and-coming authors, and much, much more. That's originalworlds.com. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Bull. I appreciate it. Yeah, I love how the sound design on that whole story came out. I worked on it for, I think it was at least 20 or 30 hours is what I put into that thing for all the sound design and coming up with the, the recordings for the sounds and stuff. It was very, very difficult, but it was so fun to do. And I love the way that it ended up coming out. It's like one of my favorite stories that I've ended up making a recording of. That one was actually a part of my center stories. I have a bunch of short stories and a couple of books that take place in the world of Center, which is kind of like this alternate reality sort of steampunk world that's crossed with a lot of different types of genres. So it's kind of a mix of fantasy and sci-fi together. And it's one of my favorite worlds to write into. I really enjoy the stories that take place there. So yeah, anyways, so I'm really happy with how that one ended up coming out. Thank you. I appreciate it. I really like how that one came out. I'm going to do one more of my own, and we'll see what we do from there. Let's see. I'm trying to decide which one to do. I have so many of them. Do you have any requests, darling? Nah, I didn't figure. Okay. Well, we'll just click one at random and we'll see what happens. Oh, well, okay. It turns out to be another Center story.
Bad Day in Center by Ira Robinson. I thought it would all be so simple. Just walk in, show a little steel, and walk out with everything I could ever want in hand. Of course, my bad luck just wouldn't let that happen now, would it? The day started out with a beautiful sky. The purples were striking as they mixed with the yellow of the sun, just peeking over the horizon line. The clouds were puffed, but not from rain. It would be just enough if it kept up to give some shade from the warm sun later in the day. I knew the market would be a busy one this day, and I was right. As the morning started to take full effect, the people from the countryside started to pour in. You could find most anything in the city market. The place was famous for attracting the exotic. Want freshly preserved meats? They've got that. Spices? Well, more smells came from the market from the spices than from the livestock. There would almost always be a guy selling dragon scales and mystic pearls, even if that's what you were really looking for. The city is named Center for good reason. No other market in the world compares to the one here. It's really what brought me to Center to begin with. And where there's a place like this with the flow of money like water over falls, there's always going to be people like me. I was meeting Janos at this little place on the west side of the market area. It's usually darker in there compared to the other eateries, and the owner doesn't bother the patrons, other than to take the orders. It makes for a good place to make a few plans and split a few deals. Janos said he knew of just such a deal we could get involved with, but wouldn't tell me anything till we could meet at the Parsons place. This wasn't unusual. Most of the time, Janos is one of those loose kind of guys. One he can get along with, but as for relying on their intelligence to get through a jam, you're better off asking for a goat. Still, he had come through in the past for me, and I've made a fair bit of coin in my time working with him. I figured this job would be much the same. Parsons' shop was a little hot, more so than I liked, and Janos wasn't there at the time he told me to meet, but I hung out for a little while longer anyhow. I thought he might have gotten pinched, but just as I was ready to make my exit, he walked through the door. "About time," I said, sitting back down at the table. "Where you been?" Well, he sat as well, putting his sword beside him. The scabbard was dirty as ever, but I knew from working with him in the past the blade itself was spotless. "Had to make sure everything was set," he said, nodding to Parston, who held out his hands across the room in acknowledgement. Janos wanted his usual drink. "So what are we looking at?" I asked. I hated to think that I'd wasted my whole day and wanted to get all of this over with. The dust from the street outside was getting to me a little bit more than I would have liked, but he said, "We're looking at a lot of money. What else would I have wanted you for?" I said my charming ways with the opposite sex, and he rolled his eyes. I wasn't offended. It was a common banter between the two of us. The whole thing really did seem simple enough. Just a small building, barely guarded most of the time because of its location. It had easy access to streets we could get away on, and if necessary go above, since it was in a cluster of buildings packed close together. I liked the odds, and I told Janos I was in. I should have stayed in bed. Then again, I relied on Janos's intelligence to get us by. I should have known better. I should have checked it all out for myself after holding off for a day or two. Isn't that how it always goes, though? So there I was, standing beside Janos in the middle of one of the money exchanges in Center with my reliable short sword in my hand, and he going into a rage with his long sword of his own, while 24 guards, hidden in the back playing cards or something, pointed their crossbows in our direction. I thought it would all be so simple. My bad luck just wouldn't let that happen. So, here I am, laying in a pool of my own blood, looking at the feathers of the crossbow bolt sticking out from my chest. I know I should have just said no to it all, just gone to my little hovel. Goddess, am I gonna miss that stupid place. Maybe find a nice little someone to waste away the heat of the day with. I've always hated this place, but That's just how things sometimes go in Center. A bad draw from the cards of the fates will get you, no matter how lucky you think you are. If the goddess allows me to come back again, I'm going to ask to be a cat. At least then I'll know better than to trust a person like Janice. For more stories from Ira Robinson, go to his official website, originalworlds.com. At that website, you'll find free stories, free chapters from his books, writing information for those up-and-coming authors, and much, much more. That's originalworlds.com. Thank you for listening.
It's double or nothing, so get on the track. Try Campbell's pork and beans, and you'll get double your money back if they're not the finest beans. So buy 'em and try 'em and do it today. Double your money back if you don't save. For flavor and zest, the beans that are best are Campbell's pork and beans.
That's right. Double or Nothing will offer every listener double your money back. Here's the offer. Try Campbell's pork and beans. If you don't agree they're the best pork and beans you ever tasted, just write your name and address and the price you paid on the back of the label, mail it to Campbell Soup Company, Camden, New Jersey, and we'll refund double the purchase price. Okay, O'Keefe?
Okay, Crosby. So it's double your money back and nothing to lose. And right now we're heading into the heaviest bean-eating season of the year, from April to July. And we'll help grocers sell more Campbell's pork and beans in their stores with a real double or nothing offer. Double your money back.
Hello, Walter. What's that double talk?
Maxine, Laverne, and Patty Andrews. Girls, I have a problem.
Now you have 4 problems.
Patty, my problem is to tell everybody about the tie-in between double or nothing and the big new double your money back offer on Campbell's pork and beans.
Well, I always say, when in doubt, sing. How is this? Buy me a bistou pork. Buy me a bistou beans. Buy me a bistou Campbell's pork and beans. Such wonderful pork, such wonderful beans, such wonderful Campbell's pork and beans. Any other problems, Walter?
Well, grocers have been doing a grand job selling Campbell's pork and beans. And we want to tell them the double your money back offer holds good on the big family size can as well as the regular size can.
Well, here's a slogan for 'em. Get wise to the family size, like this. I was sitting eating pork and beans when I met a handsome man of means. Now we think you'll realize why she buys the family size of Campbell's pork and beans.
Patty, I want to give double emphasis to Double or Nothing's double your money back offer.
Well, you wrote a song that tells the whole story. Oh, Campbell's has pork and Campbell's has beans.
You mix them together, you've got pork and beans.
All over the world, both oldsters and teens
are mad about their pork and beans. Now a gal that I knew she was handsome, and she loved pork and beans, if you please. When she heard about Campbell's, she upped and got wed to the man in the flying trapeze.
Now he flips through the air, loops a loop and careens, since his grocers supply Campbell's good pork and beans. At last they've discovered what ecstasy means, 'cause they've got Campbell's good pork and beans.
Did we mention the double your money back offer?
Well, didn't we? Well, let's do it again.
Let's do it the way you're going to do it every day for our Double or Nothing listeners.
It's double or nothing, so get on the track. Try Campbell's pork and beans, and you'll get double your money back if they're not the finest beans. So buy 'em and try 'em and do it today. Double your money back if you don't save. For flavor and zest, the beans that are best are Campbell's pork and beans. Okay, O'Keefe?
Okay, Andrews Sisters, and okay, grocers. When you offer customers double their money back and nothing to lose, how can you lose?
It is indeed the heaviest bean eating season right now. I hope that you guys have enjoyed the show tonight. I hope that you guys have enjoyed the art, and I'm so deeply grateful for all of you guys being here with us tonight and being the kind and beautiful people that you really are. I am always so grateful to have the chance to be here on the streams with you guys and to take part in your lives in some kind of way. And I'm grateful that you guys have spent a couple of minutes being here with me as well. It makes all the difference in my own life, and I know that Jolene really enjoys it as well. And I hope that you guys will be here again the next time that we stream. I don't know when that's going to be, but we will see. We will see. Maybe tomorrow, maybe the next day. I don't know. We'll see. But it's nice to be doing it this way for me right now. I'm having kind of like a period of time where it's difficult for me to be on the stream, be energetic, be, on on the stage, so to speak. And I know that you guys who do stream as well probably understand that feeling as well. So being able to do things like this is nice because it gives me a chance to concentrate on the painting while the stories are being told and while you guys are having a bit of entertainment as well. So only if you have pork and beans. Yes, I will definitely make sure that we have pork and beans on the stream for you guys to share in. It is the heaviest bean eating season after all. But I think that we're going to do a raid. I was looking in. There's not many other artists that are on that I'm following right now. But I do see that a very amazing group of people are on at the moment. And I love being able to raid them. Do what? We're going to raid Simply 2. Because I have not had a chance to raid them in a very long time. So I figure we can pass off over to them if they're still on. I think they may have actually just went off the air. Okay, who might that be? Okay. Okay. Yeah. Yep. Nope. I'm aware of her too. I did not see that she was actually on. Well, we will go ahead and oh, nice. Okay. Well, we'll go ahead and go over to Valora Plays then. And hopefully you guys will enjoy that as well. So, until next time, I hope that you guys are safe and sound, that you're taking care of yourselves. Be sure to hydrate. Be sure to get a little bite to eat. And make sure that you tell everybody that's around you that you love them. And until next time, have fun, everybody.
Incoming customer detected.